and make things live like we regularly would.
All right, Stevie, we're gonna try to go live here.
All right.
We'll bring you in quick.
Oh, this is gonna be crazy. I'm gonna open the show and then I'll turn off my live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast number 176. We're here on January 2nd, 2018. Johnny V and myself, the Disc Golf Guy, right on time.
We always go live at 9:11.
Yes.
I mean, it's never forget.
Yeah, never exactly. So here we are. We've been having some internet challenges. I'm also live on my personal Facebook feed, which I'm going to shut down. We've got Steve Rico, who's going to be on the show tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Legacy of 2017, Legacy of 2018, and the rest of the topics that are pressing in the disc golf world.
They are.
So Facebook Live, have a good one. Go out and find us there. We'll catch you guys later. And I think we can, with that, we can probably get Steve Rico on the line.
Right away, we'll bring him on.
All right, let's do it. Stevie, how you doing tonight, buddy?
What's up, fellas? How you guys doing?
We're here. We're working. We seem to be good right now. Cross our fingers and knock on some wood.
So, Steve, two things. One, happy birthday yesterday.
For sure.
And two, you are just 363 days away from that Masters division.
Well,
says who? Bro.
So here's what I've decided. You and I are both eligible to play Masters this year. This is now going to be a Masters-only podcast. We are not going to focus on the Open anymore. They're not worthwhile. Every Master says that they don't get enough props, so I think we should really just live with nothing but Masters.
Yeah, sorry, Disc Golf Pro Tour.
It's going to be the Disc Golf Master Tour.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
We have our own tour now, guys, so it's awesome.
Well, again, happy birthday. Your birthday being yesterday, January 1st. And we wanted to just catch up. There's a lot going on in disc golf. We don't see as much going on in terms of play right now, but whether it's new products, new discs, I've seen some new baskets. We've seen some team changes across a number of different teams. So there's a lot of different things going on in disc golf, and it's been all too long since we caught up with you. And buddy, come on. You got to get out back on that tour so we can see you, so we can hug it out. What's going on?
I know, man. I miss you guys. You know, busy working, still pouring concrete, still finding most of my time in here after work, or when there's no work, we're in here doing something, creating new plastics, designing new molds, just getting prepared for this upcoming season. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve here.
Well, it was about this time last year I had visited you guys. You and I actually did a relatively in-depth and intimate interview that's finally actually been edited together, so people will see that in the next few weeks. But you guys took a major step forward. You guys got your own injection molder so that you could be doing stuff in-house, literally in your warehouse. It's a major investment. That's a huge commitment. And now you guys are able to run plastic so much more often and to your likes. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're running all the time now. As a matter of fact, we just ready to shut down the machine for the day, so we can get back in here early in the morning and start again. But yeah, the process of it, it was a little difficult at first, but now we've got the hang of it. We've got the hang of all our blends, our different plastics now. Trying all the different cooling times and that kind of thing. It took a little while, but now we got it all pretty much down now. So yeah, we're pumping out parts now all the time.
It's got to be, because I watched you guys do it, and I visited a number of other factories too, but it's got to be a mad science to getting not just the plastics in, with all the different fillers and components, but then also keeping a consistency going. Is that one of the many challenges?
Yeah, it's pretty tough. We've got the hang of it, but me throwing all kinds of plastic throughout my early career. Me seeing different discs flying different. That's just I think it's a challenge in every company. And we try to make the best of it here. Everything that pops out of the machine right away, I'm feeling it, I'm throwing it, and making sure that I can adjust early on so we can keep it consistent as we can. So that's my biggest thing right now.
And now you guys have dipped into some lighter plastics and some other options as well. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we created our Skyline, and it's a lighter blend, in the 150s. It's a great material. They fly really far, a lot of glide on them. And then we also just recently came out with the ultralight, which is in like the 120s and 130s, and that seems to be a pretty big hit for beginners and kids and those lower arm speed throwers.
Tell us about some of those challenges. I mean, a few years ago, we've always kind of seen the 150 class plastics, but then a few years ago there was some new innovations that kind of came to light. But you guys, started with, we'll say, regular or max weights, and now you've kind of backed into, some of those more versatile discs. Tell us about some of the challenges with going with discs that light and what's the word I'm looking for? Stabilities and such.
It's a challenge for sure. It took us a little while to get the hang of it, but constantly experimenting with different materials, and you just got to keep doing the trial and error thing before you come up with the blend that you like. And once you have something that you can start from, then you can start adjusting to lower and higher weights. But there's a lot of trial and error, and then you figure it out. As you keep experimenting with different material.
Is that something you guys are going to focus on 2018? Is more of the lightweight plastic, or do you have something else up your sleeve for 2018?
Well, with the plastic, it never stops. You're always constantly trying to figure out new blends of plastic, different materials, see what works. So in that aspect, that's always going to be something that we're going to be doing. But also we got new molds coming out for 2018. We still have the Recon that's going to be coming out here in probably February. We got a couple of overstable mid-ranges designed already, so we're starting that process as well. So we got a lot of stuff happening.
And there's always been requests for I want to, just looking at some of the conversation recently, just that people are looking for the overstable mid-ranges. People sometimes talk about a Speed 11 driver, Wraith-like, to use one example. How many molds are you guys up to? You can't rattle them off like you used to be able to, I bet.
No, well, we got, like I said, the Recon's coming out, and 2 overstable mids, and then I'm working on a Confidence Clash disc right now, just for the Confidence Clash. Also, we have a basket coming out as well. So we've got the basket design that should be here hopefully in the next month or so before the season really gets going.
Anything special about your basket to set it apart from other ones? Is that a company secret that you're going to announce?
It only catches Masters putts.
Only catches legacy putters for sure.
That would be awesome if you could make that happen. I'm just saying.
Oh, maybe we can get a waiver sign. I heard those are going on nowadays.
Yes.
There's a couple of tweaks to the basket that are pretty interesting. I think a lot of people will like them. I don't want to throw it out there just yet, but once the baskets are here, we'll do some promotion videos so everybody can check it out, see what's going on.
Okay. There's I can't spoil any secrets myself, but there was previously some conversation of some other baskets that are undergoing some changes that I got to see a week or so ago over at the Discraft Factory, which I know you've visited at one time or another back in your playing days. So there's a lot of good stuff going on, and everybody's innovating. And as soon as I feel like one company says, "Oh, we're going to take this big leap," and they're going to jump forward with a really great idea. Another company's already working on a slightly different idea or a completely different idea. And it's a challenge out there to stay on top of things, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it never stops. I mean, there's always something that a company's thinking of just to keep growing as a company. We have a lot of things that in our plate too. We never stop thinking. We're always writing down ideas. So that's another thing that never stops as well.
So I'll go the reverse on you. Instead of what ideas are you moving on, what's an idea that's on the back burner? What's one that's like, yeah, that'll happen, but it might be another year or 2 or 5 years out? Give us an idea that's on the back burner.
Man, think of anything? We got let's say the basket's been a big thing for us. That's going to be coming out.
Okay.
Definitely want to be out training on the road, just doing confidence clashes as well, and promoting and doing clinics and that kind of thing. That's something that'll probably be probably not this coming year, but maybe 2019, something like that.
Okay.
We're also looking to be title sponsors of some big events as well. So those kinds of things that are probably in the near future.
Okay, and that I think that's a perfectly great answer. Is you're always thinking about stuff, but you know 19 different things can't be your top priority, and so you just have to pick and choose what you're going to be running with right here and now. Explain to everyone. You've mentioned now a couple times the confidence clash. What exactly does that entail? If someone sees that one's coming to their town, or what does that mean for them?
It's a great way to get involved with playing a tournament without having the pressure of actually competing. It's more of a fun thing. You get 3 discs and towel, mini, all that kind of stuff. That what it takes to play a full round of disc golf, and just getting to know some of the legacy discs out there, including the new disc that we're designing just for that this coming season.
Okay, and then is that a great chance for people to get familiar with the mold, and then you guys maybe make a tweak or then name it and then put it into the regular lineup? Is that kind of the logic?
Yeah, I mean, once it's said, it's probably not going to change, but it's a fair. This was a fair. It's probably going to be a mid-range. It's pretty easy to throw. Anybody can throw it, but not for people just to know our classes, but also get to have fun playing around a disc golf with no pressure on the line.
Okay. So speaking of playing around a disc golf, you don't play nearly as much as you used to, and you're not traveling as much either. Is that going to change here in your last eligible Open year?
I sure hope so. I've been working hard towards the end of this season, and the next couple months I'm going to be, working hard just so I can have a chance to get out there and still play some big events and still be competitive. I still haven't played a pro tour to this day, but yeah, I want to get out there and definitely play some big events this year. Maybe travel with Josh and Drew and those guys too as well.
Well, come on over to Wisconsin. A lot of our courses are empty right now. There's not much going on. There's no wait times on any of the tees. They're a little slick, but we'll get a shovel and you'll be set.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I'm good here for now.
What's that?
I said I think I'm good right here for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you say you haven't played in any of the pro tours, for instance. Now that we're moving into the 3rd year, you've signed up for a few. You just haven't showed up to them. I mean, is that just
a lot of events last year that I didn't show up to?
I'm not going to say our fantasy fans are ready to strangle you, but is that just a testament to is that busyness on your end, or is that not perfect planning? What's the reasoning for that?
Well, I mean, you have to sign up for these events way in advance nowadays, so that's one of the things. So I'm signing up for them, knowing that I'm busy here at the warehouse and I have a lot of stuff to do here. So if the opportunity does open up, I can still go out there and play these events, Mm-hmm. But it's been we've been growing a lot this last couple of years, and it's been really, really busy and hard for me to take off. A couple of weeks. Being here is more important at the moment. So that's why it's been that way the last year. But this year I plan on getting out there a lot more and being competitive, and kind of picking up the slack where I left off a couple years ago.
What do you miss about being out on the tour and playing more regularly?
I just miss competing, you know, just being out there, being with all the big dogs and just playing alongside of them and battling with them, you know, and just, you know, they're all my friends. We get to hang out. I miss just being out there with those guys and playing at a high level like I used to.
What have you taken away? I mean, you've been, you know, I know you're still seeing what's going on. You may be doing it, watching live scoring or watching a feed from the warehouse. So you're seeing what's going on. What things jumped out at you in 2017 while you were kind of watching from afar?
Just how much this game is evolving, you know, just with all the coverage. There's so many young, new talent out there playing these tournaments. The courses are getting bigger. You know, the tours are spreading out, more tournaments. So there's a lot going on out there, and I've missed the last couple of years.
Well, I was going to say you also no, did you play in the first Disc Golf World Tour event? You did over at
La Mirada.
At La Mirada?
Yep.
Yes. That was,
okay.
Yeah, that was the one I played.
So a news alert, the World Tour is not happening in 2018. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but I like to keep you up to speed.
I've seen a few posts about it.
Okay. So we're seeing, though, the national tour, of course, pushing forward. It's going to have 6 or 7 events, I think, again in 2018. The Pro Tour, you know, had grown from 5 events to then 10, and now 10 again this year. I know you guys have supported that. Do you feel bad that you missed out on the American Tour opportunity? Because that one's come and gone as well.
Oh, man.
So many tours.
You could revive that. How about you revive that one?
I really wish I was there for that, you know. Come on, Terry.
All right, that was a cheap shot. Yeah. Sorry, Salient. Please don't. Salient, if you're out there listening, please do not sue me. Okay.
I miss playing in the national tours and just being competitive in some of the majors out there. I missed the last couple of U.S. Opens. You know, I've always been pretty successful there, and you know, not being able to go there the last couple of seasons was kind of disappointing.
Well, another event, and I'm going to pin you to the wall right here. You're signed up in a couple weeks to go play at the Shelley Sharp Memorial. You're already on the list. I heard you might be locked in for a clinic. Will I get to see you if I'm out there covering that?
You might be, yeah. Not only that, but if I do show up, we're staying together, buddy.
Oh yeah. Well,
make room. Make room
at the airport, guy.
Make room on that twin-size bed.
If you want to keep that nickname Little Spoon, we're gonna have to make sure we get together. So that's a 3-day first ATR of the year. I know Keith Murray over there at Spinners on the Green is going to be hosting, and it's a great opportunity for people to see the Vista XL layout, which of course you'll see at the Memorial. Mm-hmm. I think you'd be silly not to be there. Why wouldn't you be there?
Yeah. So far, I mean, I plan on showing up there. I got to call Keith and talk to him about a few things, but yeah, I do plan on being there.
All right, you better. You said it right here on SmashBox. So you mentioned before that you guys are looking to support some big events. Is there anything specifically this year that's already on your radar? And if people are running events and they want to reach out to Legacy, how should they go about it?
You could always give us a call here at the warehouse or send us an email. Orders at Legacy Discs. This year we support the Senkel series. We have our Golden State series now. We have a lot of tournaments from a lot of our team players are throwing some events for us. Some confidence clashes are out there. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now.
Okay. And now one of the new additions did we see is that you guys actually have a pro shop right there on site. Did I see that on the internets, the webs?
Yes, sir. We had just opened up a pro shop. It's part of our online store, Legacy Disc Pro Shop, and now it's opened up. Right now, it's opened up 1 day a week, so people can actually come in on the premises here and buy direct.
That's pretty awesome, and you guys have talk about direct from warehouse. It's literally like on the other. It's right there at the warehouse, right?
Yep, it's a separate building, but it's right here where the other two are located.
Very cool. and immediately then people know, since they have this access to the pro shop, what's the policy on trying to visit the facility, just so everyone knows?
Right now it's open on Fridays from 10 to 4.
Okay.
That's it?
That's it?
Friday,
Okay.
that's all?
No, I meant as in, do you immediately get asked? Do people want to see more than just the pro shop? That's where I was really going with that.
Yeah, of course. And we have our shipping department, which people can check out. But as far as the manufacturing warehouse, that's private. That's just for the guys that are working in here. If they want to check out the other one, that's fine. And then the pro shop as well. So
awesome. So one of the conversation that is taking place on the board and obviously around Facebook and such is the team component. Every team is expanding. Some teams are shifting. Some are moving around. All sorts of talk there. Anything in the works for some of your new team members? I think I saw right around New Year's Day a lot of announcements posted out on Facebook about team legacy. What's in store for the team this year?
Well, we had some players left. We also have a new roster, and we brought in another about 8 players, I think. So people come, people go sometimes, man, and that's just the way it is. But I'm very happy with our team right now, and I'm looking forward to this year.
Yeah, I saw. I mean, obviously, one of the names that just left was AJ Risley, who's almost a hometown boy for you guys, and he put out this wonderful video just praising Up and Down Legacy for the support that you guys gave and how he went to you guys. And when it comes to your team, what exactly are you looking for? We've asked the same thing of a couple of the other team managers. Are you looking more for up-and-coming players right now, or what's Legacy's view on a team?
Well, of course, up-and-coming players, guys who are going to be on the road touring, and just going out there and promoting and playing a lot of events, as well as a lot of promoters as well too. A lot of guys who run a lot of tournaments in their area, very influential in their territories out there as well. So there's a couple of different aspects on how we go about the team.
Okay.
I see Sarah Holcomb, world champion, out on the board. Says, "Hey, Stevie, play with confidence." Great to see. And Sarah had herself a great year this year. Touring, traveling hard, and knowing that you're supporting someone like Sarah, world champion, someone who's such an ambassador for women's disc golf. You guys probably get asked quite a bit about sponsorship from a lot of different angles, don't you?
Yeah, we get a lot of requests. A lot of people want to know how to go about it and that kind of thing as well. But like I said, up-and-coming players, people that play a lot of events, that are out there on the road, and then also ambassadors, people that run a lot of events and are big in their area as well.
So you had mentioned Peter McBride, who is relatively quiet on social media. He's relatively quiet on the course as well, as he's been touring around. AJ Risley. As they've transitioned out, when you have new players come in, is there levels to your team? How do you kind of go about when when people are just requesting to get on board?
Well, we get a lot of requests through our website. There's certain requirements. As the higher rated you are, the more tournaments you play. Of course, you're going to be on a higher team.
Okay.
We have a lot of up and coming players that are in the high 990s, 980s. I know they're going to be great talent. They're already playing a lot of tournaments, and they're going to be great. And as they get higher ranked and move up to that 1,000 rated, then they get promoted to a higher team.
Okay, very cool. And what about your brother and the rest of the crew? Are they going to be shackled back at work, back at the office doing work, or are they going to be online?
Bring them in right here.
Uh-oh. Scoot on over. We'll try and make sure we got plenty of room for them. Uh-oh. Big brother here joining the show.
What's up, guys?
Bamba Rico. Bamba, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good, brother. Having a good time still here.
I like how they have the same haircut.
This just happened, actually.
Wow.
I was excited for this interview.
That looks like the Master's age haircut. Is that what you're going for, Stevie?
Man, bro, you're throwing that at me too many times already.
He coming from a guy who can now Terry can legitimately play Masters this year, and you're ripping on Steve.
No,
who
I
still
know.
Can't.
I'm just excited that in 1 year, it's all gonna happen.
Do you think there's gonna be a celebration? Like Bamba's gonna just like anoint everybody, like welcome to the division.
You're gonna put down the camera, pick up a golf bag, and go on tour, or what?
Yeah, I'll do it if you do it. How about that? So Bamba, another year on the books officially with Legacy, and you've got also be excited. You guys are kind of the two-headed mad scientist over there. But what are you looking forward to in 2018?
I'm actually looking forward to just getting into it. Really, I mean, we're grinding it out and we're getting better at it. That's the bottom line. So capitalizing on all the mistakes that we've made in the last few years, even with just changing of different there's always change. You got personnel changes, you got team changes, you got plastic changing. Everything that we do is just evolution. So we take the mistakes, fix them, make them better, improve, and keep moving forward. So that's about the best thing I'm looking forward to. Is just hitting the ground running this year and just capitalizing on all those things we did wrong in the past and making improvements to this next year.
I know I kind of asked this of Stevie, but maybe in a different worded way, I'll say it's got to be tough when people come at you both as an event or maybe as a tour or as a potentially sponsored player. There's got to be a lot of people pulling at you. How do you decide where it's going to be best to spend what I would call marketing dollars? Because, I mean, yeah, there's events, there's people, there's tours, there's series. What kinds of things jump out at you when you're like, yeah, I really want to get behind that?
You really want to know? I'll be honest with you. It's how genuine a person is, Terry. It really is. When people approach you for different things sometimes, and they run events. Everybody, the sport is growing, but it's still small enough where everybody knows about everybody and what's going on in their area, who's doing what TDs are great, what TDs are not, what tournaments are growing. Same thing with players, same thing with stores, same thing with everything. So, it's just how genuine, influence people are. When somebody's really genuinely trying and they're just trying to make the sport better, trying to make people better. That's really what we're after. I mean, that's the first thing that jumps out of us. Okay.
And that's got to be really tough because sometimes that's a little bit of trust and sometimes that's a little bit of a shake of the dice, when you're dealing with that.
No, it is. And there's the sport has expanded so great. There's a lot of people doing so many different things. We have had some people that have approached us that are newer to the sport of disc golf, and they're don't get me wrong, and they're inspired to change the world those first few years. Oh, I want to get in, I want to do this, I want to do that. They're so excited. But I mean, over all the years that you and I have played, how many times do we hear that from a lot of people, And they always ask me, well, what do you think? Could we try this? Could we try that? And a lot of times when they have these ideas at the time, that's a great idea, but just hang around a few years, hang around in the sport a few years, see where you go. In a couple of years, if you're still inspired to get out there and take on these tasks, then by all means, we'll support you. But let's see how you do the next couple of years first. And that's the only advice I give to a lot of people. When they get involved and they want to do something great in disc golf, hang around for a little bit, test the waters, get to see what it's about. And if you want to continue in a few years, by all means, just go ahead and keep going.
I think
it'll keep people from getting burned out is what it'll do.
Run a few legacy events first. Get a couple of those under your belt, a year or two of those, and we've seen a lot of players come in hot and heavy the first year or two when they get excited about the game, and some of them stick with it, and we see some of them fade out. So it's really hard to jump on board right away.
And it's like that in all aspects. Because tournament directors, they have an amazing job, an amazing task. These guys are going out there. They're not getting paid. They don't hear all the praises, but I'm sure they hear all the stuff, the bad things going on out there, and they're doing it because they love the sport. They want to promote disc golf in their area, and there's not enough credit given to TDs. So that's kind of what I mean. When people are getting in there and they want to start running events and things like that, they gotta feel the crowd out for a little bit because sometimes it can be brutal.
Well, and you got to be a little bit realistic as well. And as you said, I'm sure a lot of people come to you guys, and the entire state's going to become all legacy next week because I'm running this one event. And so there's a little bit of give and take there that you have to realize. Like, you guys have heard every line by now, and I'm sure you want people to order your product, put it in Players Pack. I fully support that idea. But if you're trying to sell Bamba and Steve on the idea that you're going to become an all-legacy town the next weekend, that's probably not going to happen. Just got to be realistic about what you're going to do. Make your impact where you can.
Exactly, yeah, and that just goes for just about every part of the game. I mean, there's a lot of players out there on tour, and they're promoting for their companies. And you got certain tournament directors that are also, you're always trying to get the best deal so you can give the tournament the most bang for their buck. So I mean, it's just the way things are evolving. It was not that long ago there wasn't that many choices to choose from, and now there are. So
there are, and it's a very competitive space. I mean, you guys put together a great Players Pack, as does the next guy, and so on and so forth. So it's got to be really competitive when trying to work with these tournament directors.
It is. It's it's always competitive, and every I guess area or city might require a little bit of a difference in how we sponsor. But I mean, we want the sport to grow. We want the company to grow. So we're always willing to talk with people and hear what's on their side or what they need.
So let's talk a little bit about your play. Is there any chance we're going to see you on the course more, and will it be in California, or might it be somewhere else across the country?
Terry, I go through these stages, man, where I'll play for a little bit and then I'll get it back and then I'll stop and it kind of goes away. So I do plan on heading on out to Vegas. I will probably go to Memorial. I don't think I'm going to play, but I'll be out there. So it's just hit and miss. I'll play a few local events and just see how it goes. I'm going to be spending more time in here, even more now that my bro wants to get out there and play a little bit of golf. So we'll see how this goes for me.
I could have swore he said that entire company just shuts down and collapses if he's not there. Did you say that, Steve?
Yeah, he would like for that to happen, but no, not at all.
No, I know you guys put in insanely long hours, and sometimes more often than not, actually, you guys are pouring concrete, one of the toughest jobs in the world, and then going in there and working. But one way or another, you're putting 16, 18, 20-hour days in frequently out there.
Well, I mean, I can tell you this, Terry. I mean, we continue to run the family construction business because it's just we don't want to stop the growth of legacy. Molds are expensive, plastics is expensive, and just to keep product going, we don't need to stop doing what we're doing. I have my dad who's helping with the company out there, and then there's enough employees on the concrete side of it that are doing their thing. We show up for the most important part, which is putting down the concrete. And then, but our main goal now, it's evolved now. We are trying to make a legacy to keep the pace of growth. So that's why we don't. I'll be honest. I mean, legacy is not what we're focused on paying our own bills. That's what we have our construction for.
Yeah, and it's a means to justify the end. And it's funny how we all look at that sometimes as we say, oh, well, we need a full-time job to support our disc golf habit and whether we're our disc golf company. And it's funny how that's where we're at. But I think we're all trying to grow out of that, onto that next step. So your brother...
Yeah, we just don't want to slow legacy down. That's why legacy just keeps on moving. And it right now we're still required to have both lives going with the construction and legacy, and that's what we're dedicated to do. I mean, we set out to keep this dream, and we're doing whatever it takes to keep it moving.
So earlier you mentioned that you are excited to move into 2018 and learn from mistakes. Is there anything that jumped out at you at 2017? You're like, nope, not doing that again. And I think there's a lot of different ways that could be taken, but was there anything that really jumped out as like, all right, chalk that up as a lesson learned?
Oh man, in every department, from plastics to just, even accounting and just friends and everything. I mean, you guys know how it is. You got your own thing going. I mean, just how you can always improve on something. There's no doubt about that. I'm excited most of all on our plastics end of it, though. We've learned a lot on the plastic side of it. Different materials that we're playing around with constantly and sampling. So I think that's gonna be our biggest advantage, is just how far we've come in a short amount of time with the plastics.
All right, one of my, well, I would go ahead and say one of my favorite questions to ask usually is, what's a misnomer? Or not a misnomer, what's a misconception out there? Maybe that's the better word. What's the misconception out there when people say X, Y, or Z about Legacy or you or Steve or anything? What's probably the biggest misconception out there right now that you'd love to just set straight here in an open forum?
I don't know. I mean, there's everybody's gonna have their own opinions about everything, no matter what. My whole thing is just that we pride ourselves on just trying to work hard and keep things moving. I mean, we've been here for over 30 years of playing disc golf. That should say something in itself. We've been here when the sport was very, very small, and we're still here, and we're going to be here for another 20 or 30 years. It's not going to stop. So I mean, players come and go. Obviously companies have came and gone as well. All I can say is we're here. We're not going anywhere. So if people have their thoughts about us, I mean, all I can say is that our history should speak for itself. Really.
Fair enough. I think that's totally legit. Some naysayers or some people make questions, say, "Oh, Legacy is just this or just that or whatever." Who knows what they're saying? But I think that sums it up.
I will say this. I will say this though. I mean, we didn't, and I'm not stirring the pot or saying anything wrong, but the disc golf, our discs, we made our own plastic. We made our own mistakes, and we first started off with somebody who knew nothing about discs. So we started from the very first disc coming out and our own formulas. We made mistakes and we fixed them, and we keep coming up with new molds and new blends. We didn't jump on with another disc golf company who already knew what they were doing and already kind of gave us the ground, gave us our way. No, we own our own molds, we own our own machines, we are our own standalone disc golf manufacturing company. So I mean that has to speak for itself. I mean, and that simply was just done with our own money from making concrete and construction. So there's people might say, oh well, these companies are here, these companies are there. You know what? That's awesome. I'm glad that there's more out there. But for us to be a standalone company and not work with anybody, that right there, we pride ourselves on that, because that took a lot of work.
It did, and I was going to say, there's two ways I can go that. One, there's a lot of people that have said, oh, such and such disc was, really just a mold that you guys bought from Innovi. I know we've all heard that one more than once.
That's a good one.
Which, yeah, it's a good one, because Innova's in the business of selling their molds.
So it's like, oh, who wants one?
So, A, that's funny, and B, you bring up a great point that there, of course, with your background, with everything that you guys have accomplished, there were probably a half dozen companies at least that were interested in partnering up or some way collaborating with you guys. And it wasn't from we'll say a pride stance as much as it was you guys just wanted to do your own thing. So you had opportunities to partner with others, but you respectfully declined those, and you wanted to create something from scratch. And I think there is something to be said about that.
Well, definitely. I have so much respect for all the manufacturers who have continued to do what we all do. And a lot of times people might think, well, I'm trying to get a bigger slice of the pie, but in all actuality, in all the manufacturers, we're just trying to increase the size of the pie. Yep. Disc golf is a young sport. We can bring a lot of new people that have never seen disc golf before and show them what it's about. And that goes along hand in hand with the PDGA and everything. So, people would be very surprised to know that I could pick up the phone and I can call any one of the manufacturers and talk to them about different things, including plastics and molds and marketing. And we're not at each other's throats like most disc golfers probably think. We've all competed with each other back in the day, and we're still friends. So it's we're all on common ground. It's not like some of the people would think. So that's probably a big misconception right there. I mean, we are very good friends with all the Innova boys. I talk to Dunapace all the time. And when I see them, we give each other hugs and play some warm up holes. So it's not like most people would think.
But that doesn't sell on the internet like some people want.
Yeah, that's not juicy for us.
People want drama. They want, heads bashing. It's it's you're right though. It is funny because we've seen everybody. We've all been around the sport for dozens and dozens of years, and we've all seen each other. And there's no point in being like that when it's more advantageous for everybody to just be friendly.
Everybody loves drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's not what, being nice and friendly doesn't sell, apparently.
No.
And that, again, that goes with players switching teams and everything. Everybody wants to be like, oh my God, where did he go and why? No, this and that must have happened. It's not like that. As a matter of fact, nowadays, there's not many people. You don't have that many Nate Dosses and Ken Climos that are on the team for 20 years. You don't have that anymore. Now you have a lot of touring pros that are out there. They're obviously, thinking in their own best interest because they have to. They're on the road. But when you hear a player, announce now, okay, well, now I'm going to this team or that team, it's more common now. You're like, oh, really? Okay, all right, that's awesome. But it's not like before. If Ken Climo would have left Innova 15 years ago, people would have lost their mind. It's not like that anymore. Now it's common for people to switch,
Now, I know we've seen the new companies emerge, yourself and a handful of others in the last 5 years. But you bring up a really interesting point. Outside of Ken Climo and outside of Nate Doss, are there any other players that have been exclusively with one sponsor from start to finish?
I'm going to say Nate Sexton. And I think Macbeth.
Yeah, way back in the day, as we know, Macbeth was co-sponsored by DD.
Yeah, which was a different company.
But that was a completely different company back in the day. That was before they did any disc stuff. That was more like apparel and things like that. So, I think you've kind of nailed the four big ones right now. And we've got
Sexton kind of was sponsored by Discmania, kind of, sort of, in some way I don't think I understand, but it wasn't official, so
it's pretty much the same thing.
Still,
I understand.
Of course.
But I was just trying to think, like, you guys, you just named two great examples. Maybe like a Greg Hosfeld. I think Kevin McCoy's out on the board. He'd have some good insight. But maybe a Greg Hosfeld as well, maybe? Was he ever sponsored by anyone but Innova?
I can't imagine.
I think McCoy might be
No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, and I throw you guys in there. Steve, you've been sponsored. You were sponsored by Discraft way back in the day, and it's interesting. And of course, you guys have gone on to create your own company, which almost takes you out of that whole conversation. But it's interesting. You bring up a great point that there are very few people that are able to remain kind of where they started. I guess Schultz is probably in that category.
Someone just put up Schultz, so that would be.
But
keep in mind, there was, it's only been, recently there's been so many options for people as well, though. The competition of the manufacturing has made it possible for the sport to grow, further, and for players to have more opportunities as well. It's much different than before.
Yeah, exactly. It is, and it's all part of the transition. Michael Johansson with Discraft is another good example out there as well. So anyway.
But one thing too, though, in all of this, when at first, when we very first came out, we came out, we were a little ahead of one of the other companies, and we came out, we were already moving, starting to go, and then some of the following companies that came out behind us, it kind of triggered a few things. Once the companies came out, it became okay for everybody to throw a mixed bag. Back in the day, it was, all right, okay, are you Innova or are you Discraft? And then all of a sudden, when all the companies started coming out, everybody just went everywhere. And I think that helped us to grow, because then it was okay. People, disc golfers tend to think in a little bit of a certain way. Innova did set the standard with how the plastics look. And a lot of people got in tune to that. So to come up with new ideas, to get people thinking a little outside the box is still tough nowadays, So it takes a little bit of creativeness, and I'm glad the other manufacturers are bringing that to the table. It actually makes our job easier, that it's okay to try different things now.
So your brother wouldn't spill the beans on a new basket that's in the works. What are you going to tell us?
Not much more than he did. No, we've made some modifications, a couple slight changes, just to evolve on how players practice. But that's, that's it. I mean, people are going to keep making new changes to new product to make it better. That's where we're at.
Velcro chains. Stick those discs.
And then put Velcro on the end of the disc.
Oh, that's why they only catch legacy discs.
Okay.
Heavier.
Steve, tell us, dare I get a commitment out of you? Tell us, what would be the 4 must-attend events that we're going to see you at in 2018?
Wait, we say that? I'm sorry, say it again.
I said the C word, commitment. All right, Steve? I want a commitment from
listen,
you.
His lady friend might be listening. Don't set any standards.
I want a commitment for at least 4 big-time events we're going to see Steve Rico at this year.
Vegas and Memorial, I'm going to for sure.
Okay.
Beaver State Fling and the Worlds. Always, this is like my 22nd or 23rd Worlds in a row. So, so I'm giving you those tournaments right there. I will definitely be at.
Okay. Vermont is out in the board. I think it was Chris that was out there saying that he was hoping to see you guys in Vermont, and it's going to be obviously a great venue to be out there. Now, Worlds, there's a whole nother story, and you guys being as old school as you are, Worlds went from 1 or 2 weeks during the year to like 4 or 5 or 8 different weeks during the year when it's all said and done, or 8 different weekends at least that it spans. How crazy is that we have a Junior Worlds, an AM Worlds, a Pro Worlds, and then a Pro Masters Worlds? Is that the right direction for our sport?
I don't mind it on the fact that it allows different areas to be able to accommodate a World Championships. Before it was limited when you had to put so many people in one city and with all the courses. I mean, people were literally having to build courses just to be able to make this possible. Nowadays it's going to have more opportunity and options. Now you're going to have 4 or 5 teams competing and giving them the best sponsorship opportunities. So I don't see it being a bad thing. I think it's evolving pretty well.
And Steve, do you guys see, not just from a playing perspective, but you guys representing yourselves, legacy at a few of those worlds, or what's the plan?
Good. Yeah, no, it's we try to, we want to pick and choose and try to do what we can, because it gets overwhelming with how many different things are out there. So we are doing a lot of stuff with most of the World Championships.
Okay.
It's just a matter of getting coordinated with the TVs in time, because we do have a lot of tournaments hitting us up. I mean, we're at the point where we're getting 4 or 5 requests every single week on what is out there and what they need help on. So we do have to be a little limited and pick and choose what we can do.
Update us a little bit on the molds. What is the most exciting thing for you as you move into 2018 and the molds that you guys are going to develop?
For me, it's at least two overstable mid-ranges. We have a lot of people requesting the overstable mid-range. So my bro's been working hard on getting the design right. And that's making a fast disc is not going to be as difficult as these 2 overstable mids. That's going to be a lot of focus.
Are you when you say overstable mid, are you talking something that's really beefy or just slightly overstable, something that's just a nice hyzer out for you? Are you talking something that's really a meat hook?
We're shooting for one of each, really.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to give them an option so they can have that really overstable or something a little bit less.
We need something that's really overstable that can fight the headwinds and pretty much has no glide and just dumps to the ground. So that's been a request for many years now from a lot of people. So so that's what's in the works right now. There's a lot of different mids out there that people keep throwing out there. So we got to make sure that ours are going to be top notch.
What were the exact molds that you guys had this year? Just to recap, I know you kind of touched on a few earlier, but in 2017, what were the exact molds that somebody needs if maybe they haven't heard of it or they haven't been out there to try it? What are the exact molds they need to get out there and try from this last year?
Well, the Aftermath and the Recon. Now, the Aftermath is already out, and that disc, I've had so many people talk about how it went right into their bag. So that was a huge jump start towards this end of the year. It kept us really filled. And same thing with the Recon. We also designed the Recon with it, but that's not coming out till February.
Okay. And has you talked about kind of getting the machine dialed in and learning about plastics and learning from mistakes. Is the turnaround getting quicker or easier, or is it still very similar to, say, your fourth or fifth disc? I mean, in terms of what goes into perfecting a mold.
No, it's gotten much easier now. I mean, now we know what we want. Now we know when something is working or it's not working immediately, and we can make the adjustments right there and then. Plus, having the machine, it's all at our own power now. We know we can mess around with the domes and different things like that, and different stiffnesses, and it's just a lot of it's more on our power now, so we can fix it faster.
Okay. And your crew, how deep does that crew go on any given day or week over there at Legacy?
You know, it's consistently at 8 or so. And then I'd say half the time we bulk it up to about 11. But, you know, along with the pro shop now, you know, it takes, you know, a couple people to run the pro shop alone. So, you know, we're spread out. We have three warehouses, so we're spread pretty thin now on what we're doing. We can barely keep up. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's exciting to see the growth. And as you guys started, I remember, Bamba, you and I played in the 2011 Worlds together during one of the rounds. I think it was out at Ryan Ranch is where we were playing, one of them. And you were talking about it, and later we shot a video. I think that was the first time ever the Rampages maybe were in somebody's hands. And that video blog is out there, and we were just talking about golf then, and here we are all these years later.
Yeah, I think I just got done spanking you, and then you wanted to do the interview.
More than likely.
I don't recall it going that way.
I don't ever remember getting that victory beer that you had promised either.
All right. Well, if I see you in Arizona, I'll get you one. How's that?
All right, you got it.
So there is your brother and I talk about this a lot, and I know he has this internal struggle. You need him at the warehouse to be doing a lot of the work. He does. I've seen that guy put a pair of glasses on and type at a keyboard and do accounting. I see him, packing a box. I've seen him taking on a mold out of the machine. I've seen him do everything. But yet we love the idea of seeing him on the tour and representing the brand as a world-class player. How in the world do you kind of weigh those against each other?
Well, I'll be honest with you, man. It's in his character to just work hard. You know, he works hard in concrete. He works hard in here. You know, he's trying to be everywhere and kind of, I mean, even to the point where micromanaging. You know, it's just the way he is. You know, I can tell him right now he can go on tour. He's still thinking about this place. So that's just something that we got to get better at in general, so that he can have the time to go out there without worrying. You know, I can't. You know, his guy would still be at the softball diamonds at night, though, underneath the lights just to get some practice in. It's just the way he is.
All right, Steve. Big brother says it's okay for you to go throw frisbees around.
You had him out.
Steve, what's next in your career? I mean, I know I've kind of given you a hard time about Masters being around the corner next year, which I'm sure is not your concern, but what's next for your career that you're concerned about? I mean, do you feel like you need to get out there and practice and find your way back on the top of the podium, or are you going to take what you get? What's your plan?
I still want to compete at the highest level. I mean, I want to play open. That's where I want to, be. I know that the tour's split up, and I can go and play in the Masters division next year. But I want to play against the best. I'm not taking anything away from the Masters. There's great Masters out there, but if I'm going to be playing, I want to play open, and I'm going to continue to play at that level. I want to play against the very best. So that's what I want to do.
Okay, we got to see you there.
It's gonna be great.
Have I called you out enough tonight?
I'd say so.
So how many years apart are you guys?
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
What was the dumbest thing you guys fought about as kids?
I don't know.
We never really fought as kids. We fought a lot more since we've owned Legacy.
Yeah. We butt heads a little more now that we have Legacy. As kids, we really didn't fight.
We just played disc golf and had fun as we were kids.
Okay.
We when we were the most competitive against each other playing disc golf, I think we had always promised to split the money. So whoever won the tournament, it didn't matter. That was something that we did when we were growing up. And it's like you said, yeah, there wasn't much fighting going on. Now that we have Legacy, of course, we have disagreements on what to do and where to go, what direction. But that's, that's pretty much it.
So then the follow-up is, what do you fight about now?
Honestly, it's the timing of things. I think the direction of things. Like, do we want to do this now or do we want to do that now? We have some. We talked about, we talked about the team. We talked about what we should be doing. We talked about hitting the road. I mean, when to come up with the basket, how many molds we need, and even opening the pro shop. And it's all about timing for us. We know we're going to do it all. It's just what sequence we want to do it in. Mm-hmm. That's really what it's about.
Okay. Well, and that's kind of what I thought. That's kind of what we touched on a little earlier, is that everything can be a top priority. And it's just a matter of pacing yourselves, and what you may think is a higher priority may differ from what Steve thinks, and I could see that becoming part of the discussion. All right, guys, is there anything else, that I didn't prompt you for, that we didn't nag you or hassle you about? Free open reign, is there anything else you want to talk about? Get off your chest, mention, promote, plug, tell us about?
Yeah, I would like to talk about the Legacy family that's given us such a great love and gathering out there. They really supported Legacy from the get-go. I can't thank all them enough. I mean, we call them family because they've treated us like family and they accepted us from the get-go. And even started with Andy Parkinson in the SenCal series. Those guys have treated us so well, and we're grateful for that. And that was and that was the reason for starting the Legion, the Legacy Legion movement that's going on, is because we have so many people that are involved from the ground up, and they treat us like family, So they're out there, they're hardworking guys, and they've given us a chance, and we're grateful for it. So I just want to thank them, while we have the open mic.
Okay, well, and we say it all the time, and it's worth repeating at least once a week, I think, is what I tell Johnny. But we want to thank you guys. I know back around 2014, we had started talking about video blogs, support and sponsorship, which you guys graciously did, and you offered up to the disc golf guy. And then that's right when we had this super crazy idea of doing live broadcasting. And then you guys were the first ones there to say, hey, you know what, we want to get on board, we want to support it. And we pounded out a month worth. I think we did four live broadcasts in 5 weekends.
Yeah.
And that was all with the support of Legacy. And we've just continued to move forward with it and grow. And we're watching Legacy grow. And we're trying to do our part. You guys are doing more than your fair share. And it's just a beautiful thing as we're all moving forward. But we very much appreciate that so much of our belief in our start came from you guys as well. And we just will forever be indebted to you guys. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I mean, we appreciate it now. We appreciate you guys saying that. You guys promote the sport, and what you do, and we are also grateful. You guys do a great job out there. So I'm glad we were a part of it, and I'm glad you guys are keeping things moving.
Well, we'll keep grinding, as you guys would say. I think is a pretty fitting closing out. All right, guys. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate the update. We'd love to see more of you both. It's not from us not wanting to. So hopefully we find reasons and ways to run into you guys around the country, and certainly get you on here a little bit more to talk about what's going on with Legacy, because we love the updates.
Well, awesome. We're here anytime you guys want to talk.
All right, guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Steve and Bamba Rico over at Team Legacy. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good night.
Night, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yep, thank you. All right, and as we said, the Rico brothers joining us, well overdue.
We've had them on a lot, but it's been a while since we've had them on. And as you said, Smashbox can't thank them enough for helping us get off the ground the way they did, and really getting our feet wet with live events. And they were big sponsors of us for that first year. So
certainly,
they are stand-up guys, and I hope SmashBoxx continues to grow as well and right alongside Legacy.
Well, and what has always been interesting, and we're in a little bit different position with this as opposed to maybe, say, some of the sponsored players and the sponsorship conversation that takes place. Legacy immediately was so quick to say, we want to help out, we want to endorse what you guys are doing, we want to support it, and they wrote a very sizable check in terms of actually getting us off the ground and started, and we recognized them, and we did everything we can, as you said, especially in that first year. What we learned as one of the biggest challenges, though, in that first year is if you have any one manufacturer underwriting stuff, it closes doors to a lot of other opportunities.
Of course.
And that was ultimately the problem that we ran into. And it wasn't it wasn't because we didn't love and appreciate all of the support. It was because sometimes you go somewhere, and if you have underwriting provided by Company A, Company B might be okay with that, but Company C, D, and E might not be. And we kind of ran into that roadblock, I guess is the best way to put it. We ran into that time and time again. So although they were willing to continue to support us even more at a higher level, it came down to the fact that we really just needed to really operate kind of as an independent channel, so to speak. And so that's why you see support from a lot of different manufacturers on any given day or weekend or event. But to be underwritten exclusively by one by one manufacturer just truly wasn't ultimately a practical business decision. But they were right there trying to support us, and we'll forever be, like I said, indebted to them for it. We appreciate it. So, out on the board, I see there's a lot of questions. I hope we answered or got them asked at least of Steve and Bamba Rico. I would say some of the major takeaways there: the overstable mid-range and the other also stable mid-range, the two mid-ranges that they're talking about. And I think they said the Recon that you're going to see in February. So some great disc developments. Of course, reach out to them if you're looking to run an event, or if you are a great ambassador in your area and you think you could do something to help further the Legacy brand. They would probably love to hear from you as well. So please go out there. Also, Sarah Holcomb, our 2012 Women's World Champion and Legacy team member, has been out on the board as well.
She's been out there answering questions about Legacy discs and what she throws and what some of the things that maybe other people need to throw. So she's a fantastic ambassador. There's a lot of people that I can think I would like on my team if I had a team, and she's one of them. She's one of those people who she's outspoken, she's knowledgeable, and all in all, just a friendly person I enjoy speaking with. So get out there and support
Wait a minute,
Sarah.
though. She has a wrench?
Somehow she got a wrench.
For those who aren't familiar, a wrench, at least on our YouTube version when we're live, a wrench means that you have some kind of moderator or a...
Yes. I believe we gave... she might have got the wrench around the time we did the women's symposium.
Okay.
So, because she was doing a lot of talking about that. So let's discuss. Today is January 2nd.
Yep.
2018. This is the time of year where, as we talked with Legacy, we're seeing players switch or re-sign or move and things like that. As we kind of hinted at, talked about the two of the big names we saw move were AJ Risley and Peter McBride from Dynamic. They moved from Legacy to Dynamic. Dynamic also signed Chris Clemens to the team.
Wow.
So Legacy, we talked with Bobby last week. And by the way, I know I put it on the board. Bamba looks a lot like Cool Daddy Slick Breeze if you look at him. Go back and rewind. Take a look at Bobby from last week. There's
one of those guys should be offended.
I'm not going to say which one, but but anyway, yeah. So Dynamic Disc signs Chris Clemens. They add another player to their team. I've heard some people online say that it appears that we just heard Legacy talk about family, and I know that's a word that Dynamic uses quite a bit as far as their team and support base. I saw a couple people say that it appears like Dynamic is building Team Friend, as in all these people, they kind of all hang out, they all kind of tour together. Is there a problem with that at all? Do you see?
Not if everything's good.
Okay.
Not if everyone's friendly. And clearly, you know, we kind of joked in the last segment talking a little bit about drama and this and that within. It's always great. Of course, you want a cohesive team and you want great people all getting together. I think of it, and you go to even maybe at a junior high level or a high school level, and you think about your team, whether you're on the soccer team, the football team, the basketball team, whatever those teams are, you have some interaction and or friendships that naturally form and bond with those teammates.
Of course.
And then sometimes those spill over into, we'll say, your day-to-day friends, and sometimes they just become your teammates and as your teammate friends. And I think as everyone finds their spot in disc golf and in traveling and in the tour scene, if you're touring, I think it can be, pardon the pun, it can be a little more dynamic. It can be changing, and things can evolve very quickly. I think relationships of
I'm kind of, I guess,
not just platonic relationships, but other relationships, as those continue to form naturally, I would like to say, as those continue to form, though, I think that also can very much impact. And I think we all know there's a few names out there, just generally speaking, as we see those transitions take place within disc golf, that also can kind of change up some of the...
So is there, I don't want to say a problem, is there a concern when you have a group like that is so close and tight-knit as a team, if something happens between two team members, if there's a falling out, if there's, I mean, and I don't, and maybe I'm just not seeing it, but when you see, we'll just take Innova's team, for instance, I don't see them, while they all like each other, it doesn't appear that they are, other than maybe Paul and Nate, it doesn't appear they're as tightly knit of a friend group as the Dynamic Disc crew. So if there's an issue with a team member for Innova, it may not necessarily impact the other team nearly as much as that could happen at Dynamic. Is that fair to say?
That's possible. I mean, and then, again, we're just all speculating throwing things out, and he's just using examples. But I think of, like, then you transition over to, we'll say, a Latitude 64, whose team is so much, we'll say, wider in scope. I mean, you just have a lot of players. I think Chris Clemens, who we just mentioned, came from Latitude to now be on Team Dynamic. But just in general, I think they have a much wider scope. I thought Felberg told me once they sponsored over 100 players.
Oh, I believe
or something like that.
They have a huge roster.
So there's this massive roster there, and there again, of course, there's some cohesion that's built in as being a fellow team member with other players. But there's probably plenty of players on that team that have never even met other players that are on the team, and when you have a team that large, I think that can happen. So. It is interesting. There's obviously no right or wrong or official answer, but it's interesting to see the dynamics. Again, I think about the players as they tour around the country. Most of them are now, that I think there's a lot of chance for the dynamics to get changed up. And you think about there's the player and a competitor. There's your personal being and branding. And that maybe ties into your own personal goals, objectives, and egos. There's a lot of different components to that. And
is that, I was going to say, does that make, I'm just going to, because we're using Dynamic, does that make Robert's job tougher? Trying to please all these, he's the team manager, maybe trying to please all the team members, looking at them, it's like, oh, did so-and-so get X and so-and-so get Y? We need to make sure that that's X and X or Y and Y, so that there isn't any sort of animosity or infighting or anything like that, especially when these players are so close to each other as friends.
I was just going to say, this sounds like the Friends debacle or the Friends challenge of the TV sitcom, where they all kind of banded together, right? At one point, they collectively bargained and said, hey, we all want $1 million an episode. So if you're on Team DD, you should definitely hold out for $1 million a year. $1 million a year is what you should hold out for.
Probably.
But that, right? I mean, isn't that what they did?
That is true. They were one of the first groups to just kind of, in TV history, I recall, just to basically say, all right, you're going to give us, we're all the same. No one is any more or less, even though this is almost getting to after show stuff, but
one of them was way better looking than another.
Well, Jennifer Aniston was the clear breakout celebrity.
Sure.
And even though they all banded together as a team and they worked, they negotiated that way. So the question is, does something like that type of mentality roll over to Dynamic?
And that's exactly what could potentially happen. And it's to me, I think of, like, we'll just to use the Friends reference. They were pretty much in every episode for the same amount of episodes. I think when I think about the players, I think about different world championship performances or just big time performances and wins. I feel like it's so much more individual that maybe there's not as a way to be as, we'll say, generic for the whole group versus everyone kind of having their own specific deal. But yeah, I fair enough. I think about a Paige Pierce, and this is, again, none of my business, but I think about a Paige Pierce. How many signature line discs could or should a Paige Pierce have if she's won 4 world titles now with 3 different companies?
And I'll say this,
which means she's good.
I feel the same way about Ricky, Paul, Paige, probably even EMAC at that company. They're all on a different level. They almost don't count as far as the team. They are and it's almost just mean to say, but they are above the other players when it comes to that company because they represent the pinnacle, the top point of that company. So to lump them in with the rest of the team, yes, they are team members. They support their team members, but I have no problem treating them special as they are key.
Because they won a world title
or 3 or 4. They are key members of that. It's an interesting way to look at things, and I think any team manager has that problem or challenge to make sure that their team is happy and that everyone's treated the way they should be. I will say, I don't want to say equally, but treated the way they feel they should be.
Well, and Sarah Holcomb's on the board, and Sarah, you actually were a reference that I thought about to spit out, and Sarah puts it on the board and says Prodigy was pretty tight for the first couple years. Small group, all touring year round, and frequent team dinners, etc. And that's where I said earlier, you had this collection of just amazing individuals that are all distinguished and accomplished in their own ways, and then they were all brought together at one point on Team Prodigy, and of course, some of them remain, some of them have gone to other places, so on and so forth. But the point is, you had all these people together, and I think there was at least that attempt of, okay, here you guys all are, we're going to build this company that's going to be very player-driven, and here's what we're going to give everybody. And then as soon as they started, then eventually they had, I'll say I don't want to use the term lesser, they had a secondary team or a tertiary team that clearly weren't made up of those, hardcore, really established members. So it's interesting. I don't envy a Jonathan Poole from Innova, a Robert McCall of DD,
Bob Giulio.
Yeah, Bob Giulio over at Discraft. I don't envy some of those conversations that they probably have to have because everyone's just a little bit unique and different when it comes to these team agreements. So very interesting. And Holcomb Sarah on the board says contracts changed and other companies stepped up and made great offers. So, but yeah, and I'll say, along with Prodigy coming about, one of the main things that I think we saw as a result of that is more emphasis put on contracts.
Correct.
We've kind of known there was a really loose or a handshake agreement for some of the annual sponsorships that have taken place, and over at Prodigy, it seemed as if, okay, we're going to get stuff on paper and we're going to get signatures that are going to be legally binding. And I think that was a huge step in the right direction.
I agree.
So very interesting. These are all part of, we'll say, growing pains, but they're not all pains.
No,
it's just part of the growing process.
It's just a viewpoint.
There are some pains, but
depending on what happens within the team, I suppose. Yeah, there could be, but
and one of the questions out on the board was asking about, is Nico considered the best player out there without a major manufacturer sponsorship? And I'd go ahead and say it's not because he hasn't had one. It's that he has not seemingly found one that he is steadfast with.
Correct.
And that's clearly a mixed bag mentality that Nico's adopted. There's very few people like that. I think very few people can maintain a successful touring year without substantial support from one major manufacturer. And, we've seen Nico has had a number of sponsors. Nico gets a lot of different support in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And that seems to be what works for him. So, all right. Wait, what? Yeah, you side conversation on the board. What else do you have any other notes?
No, we have New Year. Things were a little bit slow. I looked at the PDGA news. There really wasn't much. I know they finally posted the 2018 rules changes. I think officially,
okay,
they've officially gone into place. We are in 2018, so I think that we, if you'd like to look them up, they're out on the PDGA website.
Okay.
The 2018 rules, competition manual, and officials exams have officially been published.
Okay, and I know there was some slight amendments to a few of the rules that were originally talked about back in October. There were some things that got adjusted, so make sure you go out there, find the correct set of rules, and make sure you're playing by those for sure. Also, if you go to the PDGA website right now, I'm located on the bottom of that. One of the newer releases that's been provided is by Jomez Productions. They have a new video that's out there. It was their final 9 in Russellville. I know that has recently released, and as of yesterday, they had also released the first half of the Best of 2017 video. So if you want to relive some amazing moments.
And someone on the board asked, well, where's SmashBoxx's Best of 2017?
Yeah, where are they, Johnny?
That's not my job. I'm not an editor. I'll say this. You can probably take a look at Jomez's, and you'll see a lot of the similar shots that for us, because
we're standing right next to them.
We're usually standing right next to them or CCDG during a lot of these rounds. So for us to put one out right now seems it would be a little redundant. Of course, they probably went along and covered a few different events that we had, and they probably have. They were on occasional a second card that maybe we weren't covering, but a lot of the shots that they had, we have as well, probably somewhere. And they do a great job of editing. So I'm gonna leave it to them to put out those great videos. We'll just sit and watch them.
Yeah, they have a different workflow that allows to provide much better post-production editing, and they do a phenomenal job. So those are out there. And then a not so shameless plug for myself. I have released now, I think I talked about it last week, and I fulfilled it. I have released all 4 rounds of the South Florida Open presented by Dynamic Discs. So what I thought was great, and this was just a little bit of a spoiler / coincidence, the 4 gentlemen that I filmed during the first round were 4 totally different gentlemen, or 5 different people were actually on the second round. So right off the bat, you get 9 different players in the first 2 rounds, and then I follow the lead card for the 3rd and the 4th rounds, where you may see some of the people from the first round. So go out there, please. I want to thank Pat Duncan again at the South Florida Open, and everyone that had anything to do with the event out in West Palm Beach. It was a lot of fun being there. I want to thank Seth from the Disc Golf Pro Tour, who helped me out throughout the weekend, and John Hollingshead, who helped a little bit on the post-production side with a detail or 2, helping with the thumbnails. So go out there. All 4 rounds, the South Florida Open, all available. I hit upload on the last round minutes before we started the show.
It's great.
So go check it out. Some new video content, and that's what a lot of people are saying too. Is we're obviously in this lull, and so Jomez releasing some stuff. The Disc Golf Pro Tour is releasing a few things from time to time, and then these new 4 videos, and you're going to see a lot more coming from me in the next month and a half as well. So
there was some player news, like personal wise. I saw Paul Macbeth bought a house. Did we talk?
Which we did not. Which
okay.
I actually wanted to challenge for, well, not challenge, but mention. Didn't we have him on a year or so ago where he also bought a different house? I believe like his grandfather's old house or something, or family house
out in Huntington Beach. I think he did buy that. I'm sure he still owns it, or I'm assuming.
Probably.
And I think I would guess that family's living there. So there's that.
How many houses do you have around the country from playing disc golf?
How many have I stayed in?
No.
Oh.
How many do you own?
Just the one we're in.
How many RVs?
0.
Massive, huge trucks?
No, I'm not a truck guy. I have a Honda Fit. My Honda Fit could fit in the back of his truck.
And then other cars. I don't know how many other cars he has. I think there's at least 1 or 2 others. Or at one point he owned a Jeep.
He had a Charger for a while.
He had a Jeep.
I know he got rid of that. The Jeep is...
I don't got time to keep up with
Macbeth.
With Macbeth's purchases. So awesome to see. Also on a personal note, the silent sleeper that makes big waves when he shows up and plays huge events, Kale Leviska. Congratulations to him and his now wife.
Congratulations.
I believe they got married on New Year's Eve.
That kind of surprised me, actually. I knew they were engaged.
Okay.
But I didn't realize that the wedding was so soon. I thought it was sometime this year. I didn't realize it was at the New Year's Eve. Okay. When suddenly I started seeing all these pictures, I was like, oh wow, Kale got married.
Yes.
So congratulations to Kale and his lovely wife,
Victoria.
Correct.
So just throwing that out there. Congrats. Saw a number of other disc golfers that were there as part of the party and hanging out and having a good time. It looks like there were some great pictures, of course, taken in downtown Minneapolis. So congrats to Kale and Victoria, and hope to see you more out on the tour as well, Kale.
Hope so. I really do hope so, because he's one of those guys that if he shows up, I just pick him top 5. You have to.
You'd be silly not to. So that's awesome. What's not awesome is there's a petition running around the internets that is to save the disc golf course at Bohart Ranch, which is where the Rocky Mountain Championships takes place. And I believe Ian and Central Coast were out there this year. I've heard plenty of great things. I've never personally been there. And I'll be honest, I don't know all the details about the petition, but I think the long and short of it is that it's in some form of jeopardy for not being available for disc golf. So if you find that petition and you want to support disc golf, go out and find it, and you can, go from there. So I hear it's just majestic, beautiful views, great venue, great place to be, big tournament or multiple big tournaments that take place every year there. So it certainly would be a shame. I think that kind of goes hand in hand when I'm thinking about courses and relocations and challenges. Swope Park, very much. I think I last saw that it's officially going to have to be relocated, the disc golf course over at Swope, which is certainly very sad and unfortunate to hear. So, and then one of the other things that jumped out at me that I thought was awesome to see in the news was from the PDGA women's side. There was a post on Facebook. I believe they just posted it today, the PDGA women.
They did.
And they kind of talked about a few of their successes that were in 2017. And I want to quickly paraphrase them because I think it's awesome. They said in 2017, the women's committee and all of you dedicated PDGA members out there have made history in many ways. They say we hosted the first PDGA Women's Symposium, which attracted the most viewers that SmashBoxxTV had ever seen for one of their podcasts. The record probably still stands, so that's awesome.
Pretty close, yeah.
The PDGA women say, we ran our first shared disc golf week and saw some positive feedback on how you're growing the sport within your community. We had the largest turnout of competitors at the United States Women's Disc Golf Championships, along with our largest international player showing, which I was honored to be a small part of filming and putting that out there from Tennessee. You guys did an amazing job. Actually, I think I still have a video I could make from that. I think I filmed the night golf, which just hit me the other day, that there was 9 holes of skins match, urban, at night. I'll have to find the video and put it together. We had the largest turnout. Read that one. We had hit a milestone in having the most active female PDGA members in history early November, and it continued to grow over 3,100 by year's end.
3,100
So,
active.
3,100
not just
plus
3,100 members. Obviously.
active women. So that's awesome. And we have high expectations for 2018 with the return of the Women's Global event and the PDGA Women's Symposium and Shared Disc Golf Week. So awesome. Congratulations. Looking forward to a great 2018 as well. And those are some awesome successes that have taken place for sure.
We should talk about it. We should address it because it was a post that was made out there. Paul Macbeth is no longer sponsored, at least according to his Facebook page, and Twitter and Instagram and whatever else he posts on. LinkedIn, correct. Friendster. I'll go with that one.
Yep.
Adidas Outdoors. It appears that they've currently parted ways.
Okay.
There's a lot of talks that this is a very similar move to what he did last year. The speculation is that Paul felt, and I don't think it's too far off, Paul felt that he, after a year of being sponsored for product, was looking for cash, a type of cash sponsorship.
Okay. Or even if he was getting some cash, maybe a more significant increase. Okay.
Correct. And that last year he had, I hate to use the word threatened, but that he had looked to part ways with them. Well, this year, just I think yesterday or the day before, maybe even been earlier today, but he made a post out on the social medias basically saying, hey, thanks Adidas Terex, but I think it's time that we part ways. It's not you, it's me. So
been there, done that.
And there was a good,
I don't think I saw this.
Yeah, there was a good amount of talk out on some web boards, as there always is, about whether or not this is the correct way to go about doing that. Whether it's, should Paul be happy with getting more or less what he's given, or should he be making a power play to get more if that's in fact what he's doing? Now, of course, this is all speculation, and we're a little overdue to have Paul on in general, so we might want to look at that in the next couple weeks. There's also speculation that maybe he's dumping Adidas Outdoors because maybe he's looking at something a little bit bigger. Maybe Adidas is on the mind, or maybe not.
Sure.
But the post is out there. You're out there looking for it right now. It's that third one.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I did not find it on the Facebook.
Do you want to go ahead and read?
I'll just read it because there is so much conversation taking place about it. He writes 2 days ago, "Thank you, Adidas Terex, for the time together. Thank you for coming into our sport and making such an impact. I will not be on Team Adidas Terex in 2018 because my dreams exceed what they can do right now. I hope Adidas will soon see what you see in our sport. Hashtag chasing my dreams. Hashtag Adidas Terex. Hashtag 2018.
And I think I misspoke when I said Adidas Outdoors versus Adidas Terex. I don't know.
I think they're one and the same now. I think the Outdoors was kind of rebranded into Terex.
Terex, okay.
But it's still very different than the mothership that is Adidas.
Correct.
So interesting. I saw some of the chatter secondary, but I did not actually read that post until just now. So yeah, I'll just say I'm good with that.
I'm fine with that too. There are some people, and again, there's always social media chatter. There's people that take both sides that are out there saying, hey, maybe Paul isn't looking out for the best interest of the sport, and that maybe Paul's more so looking out the best interest of Paul, which I'm fine with. It's not, I don't care. I think Paul should be looking out for the best interest of Paul. It benefits him if the sport grows, but ultimately he needs to look out for himself. And if he feels that this is the move he wants to make in order to put pressure, or just because maybe he's not happy with and he's just out. Again, I'm not sure. Hopefully, we'll be able to hear from Paul shortly about this, in the next week or two. I'm totally okay with what he's doing. It's a Paul decision for Paul's future.
And here, let me try to make an analogy on the spot for this.
This should be good.
It should be, because usually I run my analogies by you. Here's my analogy.
Jeff Hawkins says that Adidas did see the post and liked it.
Yeah, on Instagram. Okay, so if Apple came to me and said, or I struck up a deal with Apple, or they came to me, however you want to word it, and said, hey, Terry, here's an iPhone. We're officially endorsing or sponsoring or helping you out. We are backing you in some capacity. Here's an iPhone for you. And at the end of 1 year, I would say, well, I think I can do more for you, or I think I have a little more value than what I've gotten out of this iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your commitment or sponsorship or whatever you want to say, Apple. But I'm good. I'm going to choose in 2018 to not be sponsored by you. I may or may not still use an iPhone, but I may or may not be sponsored by you. Thanks, but no thanks. Just because Apple has shown any love to me and or the sport doesn't mean I should stick with them just for the sake of the sport.
Correct.
And so if Paul says, hey, I had some kind of conversation with them and said, hey, I'd really like a little more than whatever it is you gave me. I don't know if they gave him $1 or if they gave him $100 or if they gave him 10,000 or if they gave him 10,000 pairs of shoes. I don't know what they gave him. But the point is, if he wanted more and they said thanks but no thanks or we can't do that, I'm okay with him politely saying, okay, I'll move on. So I don't know. I don't think it's fair that, like most of the internets, that other people get to then judge the situation. Now, it's
what the internet's for.
Had he come out and said,
bashed somebody,
hey, I hate you guys, you suck, blah blah blah. I never liked you all along. It's you, not me. And your dog's ugly, and whatever. Different story. But it sounds like he's politely declining to maintain that relationship for whatever his own reasons are, and I'm good with that.
I bet we know more in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And
I'm guessing we will.
That's just on a hunch.
Yeah, he may have something else huge in the works, and like you said, maybe it's with Adidas, the parent company, the mothership. Maybe it's with Adidas. Maybe it's with some other name brand. I'm good with that.
I think he's going flip-flop.
Exclusive. Yeah, the Birkenstocks, as Jeff Hawkins says. Do they still make those?
Yes, they do.
Birkenstocks are still made?
Yep.
I'm going to send a shout out from my boys my boys and gals, girls, boys, men, women, everyone over at Keen. They support SmashBoxx. They support me. I love Adidas in the game. I loved when Solomon was in the game. I love when any one of our major manufacturers get on board with disc golf. Where we stand right now, or as I sit right now, I love the support we continue to get from Keen, and I know some of you guys have benefited from that. And I hope to see Adidas Outdoors or Adidas Terex still be involved, of course. I think all of that's good for us, but it's also a very appropriate time to thank our peeps at Keen.
That doesn't seem like it or sound like it changes the agreement or the cooperation that they had with the rest of the Innova team.
Yeah, it may or may not. Again, unsure of that. So, all right. So yeah, we'll see. I was trying to think if I had anything else along those lines. No, I don't. It's funny when we were talking a little bit earlier about one thought that a fleeting moment was in terms of the teams and players and agreements and being on the same page or whatnot. It's kind of interesting to see someone like Paul, who's obviously sponsored by Innova. No exclusive news there. But then his fiance sponsored by Discmania. So it's just kind of funny that, even within that same household, and for the longest time you had Nate and Val, obviously married but sponsored by two different manufacturers. So it just proves that anything can happen out there when you're looking at these teams and the sponsorships that are corresponding. I don't have much else.
I don't think there is much else.
It's been a great opening here to the new year, and I'm already excited. We're talking about the first A tier of the year, as you heard me mention with Steve Rico earlier, the Shelly Sharp Memorial taking place out at the Vista del Camino course, played in the XL layout. That's one round a day for the pros. playing the same course that you're going to see for the Memorial. And then the weekend after, it looks like I may have some involvement with the Maricopa Meadows PDGA B Tier that's taking place in Maricopa, just south of Arizona, or south of Phoenix area. Oh, do we have an update about some maybe less fortunate news that a big exciting thing that we were working on may not happen?
I forgot. Yeah.
Heartbreakers of 2018.
Yeah, the first. God, I don't know if it racked this under 2018 or it was the end of 2017, but I know we talked about. We were very excited about covering a cornhole tournament out down in Texas. Well, unfortunately, after reaching out to the establishment where it's at, Big League Dreams, I believe it is called, the place where they're holding it is in this indoor soccer facility. It's like a large, let's call it a warehouse or something with soccer fields on it.
Field house.
A field house, thank you. And we reached out to them and we said, oh yeah, what about, what type of internet, this and that? And they said, well, we've got really crappy internet. You'd be lucky to stream music on it. We're like, oh, okay, well, that is really unfortunate because it's coming up in about 2 weeks. We thought it was the 21st, and we even found out it was a week earlier than we had thought. So it was on the 30. It was on the 13th weekend, and we don't have the opportunity to go down and do signal testing. On top of the fact that we've put a lot of our product, a lot of our sell stuff on a 2 or 3 month hiatus so that we don't get billed for it. So unfortunately, it's going to come down to we are not going to be able to cover the cornhole tournament this year at this point. There's hopefully options in the future working with our friends down in Texas. But the place where they have it right now, no good internet connection, no chance for us to do good testing, and our stuff is kind of put on hiatus. So we're going to have to forego that like we thought we were going to.
Yes, we're very excited about the opportunity. We were looking forward to branching out besides just covering disc golf. We know that we could take our live components to other venues to do other things, but with a handful of scenarios playing against us for this one, it does not look like we'll be breaking into the cornhole scene this particular January.
Correct.
Anything's possible.
We have a very good in with a gentleman who does a lot of that stuff, and we reached out, and him and I all three of us had a good conversation about, the hurdles and this and that. We had some plans, and ultimately it just wasn't going to work out this time. But I believe he said he's still going to go and film it and put together something post-produced, Jomez style.
Yeah.
And maybe have a slow-mez cam for some of those throws. I don't know. But heck, you might even be able to get Nate Sexton to do commentary for it. And
when I think cornhole, I think big sexy. Big sexy cornhole.
Wow.
Right?
It's hard to follow that up.
I'm just saying.
I do have a mute button for you. It's right here. No, but if that all goes well and they like the product, then he can hopefully branch out. We'll get there eventually. So just maybe a little bit back burner.
And I know there's a couple guys making jokes, or what I perceive as jokes. Cool One says, I heard there's a badminton tourney with great Wi-Fi, and pickleball is blowing up. First of all, I'm going to play pickleball later this week because it's fun. And second of all, we'd go cover a badminton tournament or a pickleball tournament. If there was a situation that the stars aligned and there was a budget and there was an opportunity, we'd absolutely go cover those things. And I would say it through and through again. If it's something that there is where they would provide a commentator or a pair of commentators, I would happily work a camera and just hang out. Or if they want some clown or Yahoo like myself commenting on their sport, I would probably find a fun way to do that. So
I went out and looked for like the cornhole terminology as far as that, to make sure we were all prepped. And
I wouldn't want to make a fool of myself with those terms.
You wouldn't. So
Okay.
Maybe we'll get into that some other time. Yeah. But yes. So that's that. I thought good idea on giving a little update to that.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. We were very excited for it, and the stars are not going to align on that one. So, all right. I think what we're going to do is we're going to call it for our regular show. Of course, we're going to have an after show. A great topic that was suggested last week from a good friend, Tom McManus, PDGA 1276. I'm legally obligated to mention that. He had asked, what were our goals of 2017, any goals in 2018, what we did or didn't accomplish. I kind of was thinking of a few things in my head, for both of those answers, and we could probably talk about that randomness in the after show. We never touched on any tournaments from this weekend, but there wasn't much going on, so I'm not too concerned. But I do want to thank Tom for the help this weekend with my little flex start in below zero weather. So we'll call it. We're going to have some giveaways. It's a whole nother year of giveaways, 2018. There's going to be a ton of giveaways on Smashbox. The Disc Golf Guys Patreon channel is also going to beef up the giveaways, like maybe a basket a month if you guys are cool with that. That's kind of where I'm thinking. We're going to keep at it. So every week we're going to have a giveaway here on the show, and then my channel as well is going to be giving away a ton of stuff. So looking forward to it. We're glad you're here in 2018. We're looking forward to a huge year. Lots of great tournaments and expanding the Smashbox brand and what we can do on the live side, along with some podcast action. Podcast action that may even start on time every once in a while. Someday. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, we've got to thank Steve and Bamba Rico, your co-founders and future Hall of Famers over at Legacy Disc. You guys are amazing. What you're doing is great, and we appreciate. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the SmashBoxxTV podcast 176 after show. Oh. All right, here we are. Thank you guys for joining us here in the after show. We talk about anything and everything may or may not be disc golf related or appropriate for kids or adults.
Or anyone.
Is that a good enough disclaimer?
That's a great disclaimer, or anyone with a half a sense of mind.
We are here. Our regular show featured the likes of Bamba and Steve Rico of Legacy Disc. Great to catch up with them. I frequently post my sadness for Steve Rico in replying to phone calls or emails or texts. And I've learned throughout the years it's not personal. He's a busy guy, and he's just horrible at replying to people. And I make some really good, solid offers to him. And sometimes my advances are not received or reciprocated. So I'll move on. But one thing we're going to be doing tonight is giving away a Patriot, produced, of course, by Legacy Disc. I'll be giving that away as part of our show here tonight. Looks like it's I think it says 173, and it's in the Icon plastic. So if you want to be eligible, how do they do it, Johnny?
You can sign up at patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. That's patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. And for a little as $1 a month, that is basically one drink at a bar. If you're, depending on where you're at.
Wow, yeah, that's an inexpensive drink. Not in California.
Well, it's
per year maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, for as little as, $1 a month for 12 months. That's a $12 drink.
Okay, which is really expensive in some cities and dirt cheap in others.
Dirt cheap in others. Yeah. You could be eligible for that.
Yes. Well, and Cody Peterson asked, does it have ink on it? No. No, I did not steal one of your discs, Cody. It says 173 on it. I pulled it directly out of a Legacy box that was shipped to my house. And a little forewarning, I'm also getting some additional Disc Golf Guy Legacy disc stamped up, along with a few other manufacturers, but a Disc Golf Guy Legacy disc is getting stamped up as we speak.
Oh,
So.
real quick, I know we talked about this just a little bit. 2017, as far as giveaweys,
Did you include last week, which was a mega giveaway?
I estimated. I'm gonna put a little estimation there.
Okay.
We're gonna put it. I think we said it was about $250 worth of stuff.
At least.
I'm gonna say $250.
Well, depending on
depending on the shoes for the Keens.
Yeah.
This last year we gave away $1,300 and about $40 worth of giveaways. So
wow.
That was in 2017. That was our first year doing this. We plan on continuing. This year we're pairing up, or we're sponsored some of our giveaways once a month. We're probably going to give away one of the disc member boxes.
Okay.
So that's a $50 value every month for one of the giveaways for one of our patrons. So if you're interested in being part of the giveaway, again, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. The money goes to a good cause. It goes to us.
Yes.
It doesn't get any much better cause than
but
that.
if we keep giving it away to the people that help, like Dana, and Zoe, and Paul Ulibarri, our regular, and Disc Golf Nerd, all our regular contributors, we give them some money, and then we give away $1,000 worth of stuff. Where do we get? Do we get any money?
We get a
you
little
gonna write
bit.
me a check? So like
You're
44 cents there, ready to go?
If you're lucky.
Well, it doesn't matter. We do it all because we love you guys. And I'm used to being underpaid, so when I hang out with you, I don't expect any more, that's for sure.
You're good at it.
But seriously, thank you guys for the support. Another plug for the Disc Golf guys as well. I am going to redo my entire Patreon page. It's outdated. I didn't follow it very well. I'm going to reward people that currently support me. I want to reward you generously. I appreciate it. Dan Harbeck, one of my largest Patreon supporters who's out on the board for the Disc Golf Guy vlogs. But I'm going to completely redo it, and I'm going to ramp that up as well. I want a number of different levels, and I want to thank you guys for any contributions that you give. The Disc Golf Guy channel wants to grow and expand as well as the Smashbox channel, and if I can get a little more support there, I think we can then hire more people to help populate content out there. So, and I think I'm going to be giving away a basket a month at least. So
seriously,
yeah. Even if I have to build the damn things myself with an old tire, I will find a way to give away.
That would be so great. Like, you want a basket. Just wait till you see what you get. And it's like some rusty old chains and a tire. I'll have my daughters put together paper clips to make the chains, and then it'll all come down to a tire. This is a true story, and I haven't told you yet. I had a dream about you a couple nights ago that I ordered baskets for some reason. I don't know if it was for a course or what. That the baskets came in, and it was just the top and the cage with no pole. And I complained to you. I said, "What's going on? Why don't I get the pole?" And you looked at me like I was nuts, like, "Dude, you didn't order the pole?" and I was yelling at you like, "No, I ordered a basket." And you're like, "Yeah, but the poles are separate. You always have to order the poles separate." And I just kept getting it like, "No, it's a basket. You should get the whole thing." And you were so insistent. It's like I was the biggest fool for not ordering the pole
to accompany the basket.
That
sounds like quite the upsell by a manufacturer.
I would think so, but that's a swear to God I had the dream about 3 or 4 days ago, and I told my wife about it, and she looked at me like, "You're nuts," which I don't blame her. She gives me that look quite a bit, but I thought that was a really funny dream I had.
Well, if you do need to order any baskets or discs, you can call me. I am an authorized dealer for all the manufacturers, and that's another great way. Some people do ask, how can we support what's going on? If you make purchases of disc golf equipment, I probably carry it in some capacity, so that's another way that one could support our efforts. But anyway, again, we're going to be giving away the Icon Plastic Patriot tonight. That is brand new without ink. So the numbers, I hear other podcasts don't talk numbers from what I heard. So
that's their problem.
The numbers read 7, 5, -2, and 1. Made in the USA. All right. So yes, that's available out there on Patreon. Again, over $1,300 of stuff given away simply for you guys following along. And if you want to see your name on the credits, I believe that starts at the $2 level. Is that correct?
If you'd like your name on the credits, that starts at the $2 level. That's another thing. I don't know if we want to talk about now or talk about after. I've got some ideas for Patreon. I think maybe we'll talk about it after, and we'll bring it up next week as far as maybe some couple changes that we want to look at. All for the good. So no worries.
Except for unless your name's Jake Harris, because we're not letting him win any more stuff.
Jake Harris. I should just block him on Patreon. That guy is the biggest winner.
He won at least $1,200 out of the $1,300 worth of stuff last year.
It feels like it. It really.
Kidding.
He won a couple discs and a pair of Keens last
year. Pretty amazing. So, Keith Vance is out on the board. Keith, one of our original Smashies, has posted out on the board. What is it? Sorry. He says, I know you guys praise the Ricos, but you guys as well are great ambassadors of the sport. All you do with the giveaways, I just had to put it out there. Well, we appreciate that, Keith. We're glad to do so, and we love being here. A lot of fun.
We really do. Should we do the giveaway now?
I don't care. I'm good with that. Yeah, let's do it.
I'm ready.
Well, we're talking about it.
All right, we're talking about it. Let's do the giveaway so we can watch all our numbers go down after everyone realizes that SETI and Cool One didn't win. Right? Jake Harris, you win. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so what I'm going to do, as I always do, here is our random.org generator, number 1 through 155. We lost a patron or two over the new year. It might just been that they sometimes what we see is that credit cards don't get renewed, and it takes a little while for someone to kick back in. So I didn't go through it. If they were declined, they're not in it tonight. I didn't feel like digging around and seeing the people were in it. So I'm gonna hit this number generator. Get number 77. I swear to God, it shouldn't be Jake Harris at 77 because they're all in alphabetical by first name. We're gonna look at this one, number 77, Byron Allen. So congratulations, Byron Allen. You are tonight's Patreon giveaway winner. Terry will get in contact with you after this show. I'll send you an email, and you can get your Patriot from Legacy.
Yes.
Icon Edition
Patriot. So it is a great mold.
I love the Patriot. Funny thing is, I don't currently have one in my bag anymore because I lost it, but I had it in my bag for quite a while.
All right. Christy says, I remember 2011 Pro Worlds, the kids that travel with me were so stoked to meet the disc golf guy. He was like, he's on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, we'll sidetrack briefly. Call it a timestamp that we kind of skipped at the beginning of the show or not. Logan Paul, I think is his name, or Paul Logan. I'm going to look like an idiot because I don't know for sure which it's
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul. That's what I thought. Apparently, there was a little uproar. He's a big YouTuber, and I don't follow along with a ton of YouTubers. The people that I do follow, and we've talked about him extensively, Gary Vaynerchuk, but also Casey Neistat is a big guy that I follow.
Right.
This Logan Paul guy, I've seen him.
I saw him. So funny.
In some videos, and he's always annoyed me, but go on.
I'd never heard of the guy before.
Okay.
My wife and I are watching Top Chef. We had 5 episodes to catch up on, so we kind of burned through them in about 2 or 3 nights. They were in Colorado, and on the screen, doing someone is this Logan Paul guy, and I had no clue who he was. I didn't even catch his name. I just noticed. I was like, this guy, I can already tell I turned to my wife and said, this guy annoys me. He's this blonde surfer dude who's sitting there dabbing, and he's got, a selfie camera. He's running around with being an idiot. And this was probably a week ago. I'd never heard of the
Which
guy
is
before.
the recipe for being a very widely followed YouTuber, but go on, yeah. I'm just saying.
Seems to be.
Yep.
Then sure enough, just yesterday, I hear of this big thing, and I look at the guy. I'm like, hey, that's the same guy. I call my wife over, and I was like, this is the idiot we saw on Top Chef. And sure enough, it was, I'd never heard of the guy before. He used to be, I've heard a little bit now, he used to be a Vine star. He plays, I think they used to do prank videos and things like that. Now he's kind of graduated to YouTube. And
well, part of the fallout, I'm guessing you know where I'm going with this, part of the fallout? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Anyway, he had traveled overseas. They were, I believe, in a forest in Japan. And
forest known specifically for...
that may or may not have been haunted, but then also was a common place, I guess, for people that have committed suicide seemingly go there.
Yeah, it seems to be a common place for people to go there and commit suicide. It's I don't know if you call it tradition, but
yeah. So at any rate, they had gone there, and apparently there was some fallout because they had come upon someone, and I didn't watch the video because it had been taken down, and I'm finding out about this all after the fact. To make a long story short, though, he eventually had created, today was the release of it, is where he had created an apology video, and kind of, it's just, what's interesting is in this day and age, and here's where I'm really going with it, and I'm not trying to desensitize anything related to suicide or mental illness, of course, but that's exactly what this video, his original video, somewhat had done, which is, in this day and age, we see the pranks, we see the funny stuff, we see the not so funny stuff, the shock value, all of these things that are put out on these videos. And he ended up posting a video that was very much in poor taste or poor judgment, and then the fallout that came as a result of it. And I think we're in a funny spot in video production of what's appropriate and what's not, and when either intentions are missed, or maybe they were just bad right off the get-go, whatever the case might be. He's certainly caught up in it, is really where I'm going with this. And I was thinking of the timestamp earlier today, that was certainly big news today.
It was.
And for someone, and to drive that point a little further home, is someone like you who had said you didn't know of him really at all, and then it kind of puts the connection together today that talks about the scope of how big the news was.
Correct. I mean, being in the industry that we are, I follow a lot of blogs about social media and YouTube specifically, broadcasting, things like that. And so that was the big news, that he basically took a camera into this woods, and they were walking around, and they did happen upon someone who had hung themselves in the woods. And he, more or less, my understanding, I haven't seen the video, nor do I care to, I don't want to, but I guess he more or less was laughing and mocked them, and then now he comes out with some like, oh, I made a big mistake. Bullcrap. Yeah. I wish I can't even say that.
Okay.
I just, he's young and he's dumb, and that's his brand, unfortunately. It's just unfortunate that and now he finally is feeling some of the kickback from being an idiot, and now he can't deal with it, and unfortunately it's probably only going to drive up his numbers.
Yeah, so. Exactly. But anyway, the original point of this for me was A, the timestamp that all went down today, and it kind of made big news, and B, it does make me think about, obviously at a much, much smaller level, it makes me think about when stuff is or isn't released, what are the ramifications, and who does it really impact when you're releasing different things on YouTube? It's kind of all over the place.
It really is.
But we'll move on from that. Certainly not a light subject, and I wasn't trying to make any light of it, more of just the mention. So we'll move on from that. Danny Lindell out on the board. Good to see you, Danny. Hope all is well. And Disc Golf Nerd also out on the board. Good to see you, pal. We had covered a number of things in the regular show just a little while ago. One of the things we talked about, videos being released. Jomez has some video out there. I've released the South Florida Open video, and I think you're going to see a few of us playing catch-up a little bit. And, Jomez might be putting out a best of. I'm playing catch-up from a few events that I didn't necessarily think or know I'd have coverage of. I want to thank my buddy Chad, who has helped me put together some footage from a B tier I ran earlier in this year. It's a few months old, but we just happen to have a camera, so we happen to capture the action. We'll be able to put it out. The next thing that's going to be released is going to be some of the Hall of Fame action finally from October. That was all kind of bonus footage we were able to acquire, so that's going to get released. A special interview I did with Steve Rico a little over a year ago, that will finally be released. So it's a great time for a lot of us to play catch up. I know Central Coast probably has a ton of stuff that has, I don't want to say fallen through the cracks, but just as they structure their events, and they have probably paid gigs, probably unpaid gigs, and prioritize accordingly. So I think you're going to probably see stuff from them as well. So
Luke H asks, are you hoping or open to adding people in as far as or players to help do commentary with you on post-production videos? For you, is it easier to do commentary as a duo or solo?
I will very much say it's logistically 100 times easier to just do it alone. However, after a great conversation this weekend, I think I may have, I didn't even talk to you about them yet. There's one or two people that I may test out to do some commentary. And I'll say it again, I do commentary because it's easy to fill into that role. If I had two phenomenal commentators that would completely take over my show for commentary, and I had easy access to them to allow them to do commentary, and we would record and sound great, I would gladly hand it off. We just don't have those people here in Milwaukee that I have access to on a regular basis. So, South Florida Open, all 4 rounds. I had done solo commentary. I tried a new mic configuration that seemed to be very well received. And in the future, I'm going to try and see if we can get more people to do some commentary. So I hope that answers your question. But I do it because I have to. If there's other qualified people with good quality, good sound quality, I have no problem either co-commentating or let other people entirely take over the commentary. But you will hear a commentary in the post-production rounds for sure. Are you going to be at the Des Moines Challenge this year? Cody asks. I think that falls on a weekend that I'm not available. Excuse me. But I'll have to double check. I had a great time there last year. I don't know if I could have swore I was just looking at the calendar the other day, and I felt like that conflicted with something, so I'm not sure. Danny says, I probably won't watch a video without commentary. I don't pay enough attention to follow the story otherwise.
I'm with you, Danny.
Okay, fair enough. Bring back Dana for some co-commentary. That was definitely talked about this weekend. I thought about how great would it be. Dana lives about 2.5 hours from me. I'd have no problem getting in the car and simply going to the south side of Chicago or just past where he is in the suburbs. And I would just want to get the most amount of work done in that time. So I would need to have anywhere from
4 to 6 at least
videos. I was going to say 2 to 4 to 6 rounds worth of videos all ready to go, all completely set up that where we just need to sit down and hit record. I'm not opposed to doing that. So that might turn into something at some point. DD did buy a fancy new RV. I don't know how fancy it was. I saw it was an RV, but I saw that as well in the news. That's a good mention there. So who knows where that one's going to be and with whom, and yeah, more vehicles out on the road. Jonathan Ray said he's excited to be coming up for another year of being out on the road with the DD RV. He also made a hint, though. I think there was somewhere in the phrasing about possibly being his last year. So that'd be interesting if that's in fact the case. I thought I saw a hint of that.
How many events are you going to run this year?
I'm going to run like 2.
Okay.
It's dwindled from in the 20s way back at one point to in the teens to 4 or 5, and now I'm probably down to about 2 events next year, including the Skyline Classic. Bob Euchre lives in Milwaukee. That's a good call. Maybe I should just call up Euch.
I'm sure he's got nothing else going on. It's the off season.
Yeah, that would be awesome, though. How many minds would I blow if the next commentary, and I know he's national, of course, but he's more regional. But if just all of a sudden, I'm the disc golf guy, and I got Bob Euchre for cooking, that would be awesome. That would be truly hilarious.
That would be one of the greatest videos in disc golf history. I can.
That's a good call. All right. Did they buy Tina and Eric's old RV? No, they did not. I know a young touring pro who would love to do some more commentary. Oh, really, Alan? Find us who that is. Well, maybe we'll be interested. The United States Juniors Disc Golf Registration Open tonight. That's, I believe, taking place. The United States Juniors Disc Golf. So that's the one in Vermont, I believe, which is pretty awesome. I think they did see them post that. where are these events, T-Dog? I'm not sure which ones you're talking about. The ones that conflict?
Probably,
or the ones that I run?
Probably the ones that you run.
The ones that I run include the Cold Turkey, which might be in jeopardy next year to get pushed back a week. More details to come in 6 months. The Cold Turkey and, gosh. Oh, and then I've been running the end of the year chaining in the new year, which may or may not happen on my watch next year. And I may help out with the women's global event. But I will not be the official TD on file for that this year. I have been in the past, but I won't be. You guys should get Barsby to do commentary with drum rolls on every putt. Scott Williams says, just a bit outside. There's a Bob Uecker reference. News that is released, Seth Finley says. Utah Open presented by Prodigy. Jonesboro Open is presented by Pro Discus.
All right, those are 2 Disc Golf Pro Tour events.
Oh,
so we now have some official sponsorship. Prodigy has been a good supporter of the Pro Tour since its inception. And Pro Discus, I know they have been I believe they've been a supporter, but now they are doing a sponsor event.
Pro Discus was also of Jonesboro last year.
Oh, they were. Okay.
It was along with the tractor company.
Yeah,
the mowing.
Yes,
but I know Pro Discus was heavily
Spartan mowers.
Thank you. Pro Discus was, I believe, also involved with that event, and this year it looks like they're going to be the title sponsor of that particular event. So that makes perfect sense. Love to see that. Ryan Pilcher, who I saw this weekend, thanks for coming out to play, Ryan. Is Skyline going to be in early April? I think it's scheduled for like the 14th and 15th of April, whatever that weekend is when I have it on the map. Also, I'm going to be, I think I may have mentioned this last week, I'm going to be helping out with some of the Latitude Next Generation stuff for next year, a little bit more, and looking to organize and help coordinate and schedule a few of the, we'll say, Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota next-gen qualifying events for next year. So reach out.
That's great.
If that's something you'd like to work with me on in some capacity.
Danny says he's looking to step up his camera game. What should he get? That's a great question that Terry's been struggling with.
Danny.
There's a lot of options out there, and I know you have tried out a few, but you still are not sold on any particular camera yet.
So I'll keep this short. I was all hot and bothered about the Canon, the new version of Canon that's out there. We on the show for the last couple of years have used what are called Canon XF100s. That's what you see for the live broadcasting. It does everything we need it to do for live broadcasting at this moment. Someday they'll need to get upgraded. They've then had a Canon 200. I think they came out with the Canon 300, and then they now have come out with a Canon 400. I rented a Canon 400, and that's what the South Florida Open footage is all on. I love the picture that it provided. I hope you guys loved it as well. 60 frames per second, all that good stuff. At 1080, it can do 120 frames per second. It can do some fancy things. It does not, however, hold up to some of its previous models, and it comes in around the same price point as previous models. So I'm not going to say disgusted. I'm frustrated. So I'm glad I got a chance to try it out. If I'm going to make a sizable investment of 6, 7, 8, 10 grand, I want to love the cameras. And I'm very disappointed in the ones that I had tested out for the South Florida Open. Again, I love the output, what they actually gave you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I got a lot of compliments on the actual image quality. In terms of some of the functionality and the accessories, though, very disappointed. And I'm going to raise some serious coin and step it up. I want to be in love with the camera. So, to answer you, Danny, I guess it depends. Give us a price point. I mean, I think there's good cameras at the $400, the $800, the $1,500 price points,
all the way up to the $5,000 and $6,000 price.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what price point you're kind of in the neighborhood of. I'm a big fan of most of the Canon brand and the Canon family. I feel like for the amount they want to charge for this new version of this new camera, it's not good enough. That's what I'll say. Keith says, I looked awesome on 720 HD on my computer, kept buffering at 1080. Well, that's on you, bro. That's what I would say. Luke said the quality was great, just focus issues. Somebody wrote me a very, very detailed, and I appreciate a very in-depth, detailed setting or situation where maybe some of the autofocus could be adjusted. I'm not sure if that's something that I can do, considering some of the auto features that are on there, but yeah.
All right.
Danny says, holy crap, I'm going from an iPhone here. A budget option, $400 to $500. I like the Canon Vixia line in that price point, and it's all about finding then a good or decent external microphone, whether it's on a hot shoe or XLR. You're probably not getting XLR inputs at that price point, but just get a decent microphone, external microphone, and that should help out tremendously. Or a DSLR. Yeah, you could do a DSLR. I guess it depends on what you're trying to accomplish with it. We'll talk about that more offline.
How was your New Year's?
New Year's was good.
You told me you were going to do some Uber driving.
Yeah, it was. There was an. It was interesting. Nothing crazy out there. In fact, I don't want to say boring, but there was absolutely nothing crazy to speak of out in the world of New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Nice. As some of you know, Midwest is in a massive deep freeze right now.
Well, the whole country is, but specifically us.
Yeah, where we're at, it's just in a deep freeze, and I'm all good with cold weather. I really am. I don't consider myself a whiner or a complainer or anyone that, really shuns away from it or worries too much about it. However, when it's come along in the Midwest at least, and it's now been so prolonged, you can't help but then start thinking, really? Like it's still here?
It just gets annoying.
This cold snap is
been
still
here for so long.
Here? Yeah. Not a fan.
Right.
But it's going to break. I think I might even play golf this weekend.
What?
Mike Schwieger, good friend of ours, is coming from the Appleton area down to Dretska Park, and I think we were talking about dare I say, a casual round of golf, possibly.
Casual round. Sorry, I'm busy. I can't make it.
Yeah,
It's
actually going to be in the 20s.
I know. I'm actually heading over to Minnesota for the weekend. I leave Friday for work. We got an acquisition coming up, but yeah, it's supposed to get a little warmer, I guess.
For a few days, it's going to get a little bit warmer here. So, all right. So let's get into something that actually has maybe a little structure or substance. Goals for 2018. I'll say for SmashBoxx and for live production, any goals, not that we sat down and wrote any down because that sounds all too organized, but any goals in your head for 2018 SmashBoxx live productions?
I would like to broadcast something not disc golf related. It doesn't matter what it is. I have thoughts. I've got some friends in the Milwaukee area that do a lot with local music artists. I wouldn't mind maybe even, and it doesn't have to be something we're getting paid for.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something nearby that I can, spend a night doing, maybe do a concert, just a small show. I think she puts together some acoustic shows. Someone I went to high school with who went to college here and whatnot. So something like that. I think 2018, I'd like to expand SmashBoxx, just at least one thing that's not disc golf centric.
Okay.
And for 2018.
Any significant equipment, I'll say upgrades or acquisitions that are either needed and or on a wish list?
I have a wish list. I truly, out on B&H Photo, I have a wish list that I've created as far as so I was reading the thing, I almost said music. As far as a computer, and which is not nearly as required or necessary because this one is running pretty smoothly, contrary to issues that we had earlier. But I do, and I'm thinking about reaching out to the company that we get our streaming software or streaming hardware from, and it doesn't hurt to ask, but to see if they do any sort of sponsorship. Just say, hey, this is what we do. We're a very small and broke organization. Would you be interested in maybe donating one of your newer pieces of equipment. I was on in trying to work through this cornhole deal. I was talking to Teradek Support, the company that we do all the streaming through. And I said, "Hey, I have an idea. Would this work if we arranged it? If we kind of went backwards from what we normally do, and instead of putting a camera into our streaming, putting a computer into the stream. So how your laptop has an HDMI out, just like a camera." And I was like, "Has anyone ever done it?" So I'm talking to their support, and then I just said, "Hey, would you guys be interested in giving one of your brand new big pieces of equipment?"
And they said,
and the guy's like, "Talk to marketing."
Okay.
So he didn't. I mean, and this is just a tech support guy I'm talking to, and he's obviously can't say anything. But talking to their marketing, because there are these cool backpacks that Teradek makes that are about $7,000 a piece, and I would love 2 of them. Now,
or 4.
I'd love 4 of them, but I would love just actually 2 of them because they do different broadcasting. They better quality with lower data rates and these big antennas that are built in, and they've got the new modems, so we don't have to use those USB modems. We just put the SIM card in and all sorts of little things. So I might reach out to their marketing department in the next week or 2 or 3 and just talk to them and see if they have any sort of program or plan, or if we could put commercials on I would be happy to put commercials on the Pro Tour, regardless of what Steve Dodge says. If they were willing to give us some of that equipment even at a high discount. If I got a good enough discount, I would outright buy that. But free is always better. So I would love that. But as far as equipment that we actually need, we don't need anything right now. We can always use a little bit better cameras. We could use better data. We could use better microphones.
Sure.
But, and the other thing I think I'd like to try this year, and I think we will, is a booth setup. Having either you in the booth or someone else in the booth and you on site to do commentary. Maybe one round at an event, maybe, maybe not. But I think that's something I'd like to kind of try to dip our toe into to see how it works. Because I think I've figured out a pretty good way to do it. It's just a matter of actually doing it now.
Yeah.
And it's always scary to do something new, because if it fails, I don't want, if let's say we pick any Pro Tour event, that first day we say, okay, we're gonna do a booth, and we tested it and it kind of works, or it works, but then we get there and we completely miss something, and we overlook something and it goes bananas. That's never good. Now, granted, I think a lot of people would understand, like, oh, they're trying something new, but I just want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row, and I think I can do it, but thinking I can do it and doing it are 2 different things.
So I've heard. All right. HP has a backpack computer as well.
No, this backpack is, if you're interested, you can look up it's a Teradek backpack, and it's like $7,000. You can find it. It's got a bond and a cube built into it, if you know what those are. Most people don't. So they have those built in, and they supposedly are better antennas and this and that. But I how much better. I kind of set the bar at the MVP Open. I have to call it the name. It took me a second to spit that out because I want to spit. Back on holes 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah.
If I could get something to work back there, I know it would be better.
Sure.
But we don't know, things like that. So
that's certainly been one of our challenges. One of the few spots that we know of out on the tour where just reception is not good enough to pull in for us to be able to put out a live signal, which is why we stand down out at Maple Hill on 10, 11, and 12, and we're not live. So, all right.
How about you? What are your thoughts? Or, I mean,
I'd like to find a real job so I can quit this crap. I'm just kidding.
Nice.
No.
I want Bitcoin to hit $2 million a coin.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
I would say from a SmashBoxxTV live production standpoint, of course, I would like everything to run smoothly. I don't know if that'll ever happen, regardless of what we do, just because there's just always an element of surprise or a piece of technology that, can flake out on you either briefly or long term. Of course, I want things to run smoothly. We're getting into a position where we're now familiar with pretty much every place we go to. You know, San Francisco is going to be a new venue this year, and then the Toboggan Course is going to be a new venue, in that we haven't been at those two places, but 7 or 8 of the other places we've already done live broadcasting from, so that there's a comfort level there that's great. That helps the cameramen, that helps me, that helps everybody involved. So that's all really good stuff. On a personal / related note, I've kind of mentioned twice now, or a couple other times, I have 2 great ideas for 2, I think, great podcasts. And I doubt either of them will be a video one like we're doing now, but so they'll be available for download. We'll feature them on the SmashBoxxTV podcast network channel. One is very specific to tournaments, and one is very specific to players. And I think they both could be really good. I just need to get them off the ground and running. In fact, I made a leap running start towards one of them today, and ran into some challenges right away in testing. So once I can get those nailed down, get a few details nailed down, I think you are going to see some additional content. And then I've talked about it extensively. Again, anytime I'm not live, or even when we are live, I want the Disc Golf Guy channel to be relevant as well in a post-production format. So whether that's additional cameramen or additional editors or both, I love the idea of that channel still being relevant when Smashbox is live or not live. And let's be honest, we know we're going to be at 12 to 14 live events this year. Most events either don't have the capacity and or the money to be able to be live. And I love what Central Coast and what Jomez, what they both do, and a number of other places. I want to raise the bar, and I'll say first I got to play catch up with those guys, but I want to put out really good quality content as well from that angle. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing. K-Mac had earlier said, Kevin McCoy's out on the board, said that they built a facility that has 20, I think he said, pickleball courts, and they just hosted a huge tournament in October. So he said he'll reach out and see if they'd be interested in live, in some kind of a live stream, which I think would be awesome. Cody on the board says, shouldn't the Junior Worlds be covered in some way? I guarantee it will be. It's taking place in Emporia, where that Bobby Brown fella is. And so between Bobby and Anthony and others, I guarantee there will be a ton of coverage. I don't know personally if I'll be in any way involved. If so, that'd be great. If not, I'd understand because they have things going on there. But yeah, you're going to see plenty of coverage. I can't guarantee what, but you will see coverage taking place for certain in Emporia. And the AM Worlds I'd love to be involved with down in Charlotte. The Pro Masters Worlds, the Open Worlds, all of those, I'm sure are going to have some form of coverage.
Yeah.
So, K-Max says, what do you think about bad lip reading version of disc golf? Yeah, I love that idea, except for which I've thought about. And then I think about the effort to produce one of those. And those are really good and done by really good professional editors. Clearly, it could be done. I just think it'd be really tough to do. Disc Golf Nerd says, I need help figuring out how to host podcast audio files online so I can get mine on podcast apps.
Disc Golf Nerd, there's a couple different ways to do it. You can go the slightly more expensive route, which is what we do. We use a company called Libsyn, Libsyn. We pay for a monthly service, and they kind of do all the legwork for us. Or you can host out on SoundCloud. I know SoundCloud has an option where you post audio files out there, and then you can find a way to do an RSS feed. I'm sure there's instructions online. Or I believe there's even a way if you can do it at archive.org. Archive is, the internet's backup, so to speak, as I think they say. I think you can host podcasts off of there. So, and I think those are both free options. They will require more work on your side, but they are free as opposed to the Libsyn, which basically I upload something, I hit a couple buttons and it pushes out to every podcasting app will then find it. So
all right. Scott asks, Johnny V, with the booth setup you are thinking about, could that mean more than one card coverage?
Yes, with more cameras. Now, the booth would more or less, my goal would be to have, so say you have, Terry's looking at a computer and he's more or less seeing a copy of all of the cameras that I see. He sees what's live. He sees what's coming up live. And underneath of that are maybe 3 or 4 other cameras, or the other cameras are other shots, commercials, whatever we have, assets. In theory, he would be looking at that and be able to say, oh yeah, if we go to another card, suddenly like, oh, here's Paul Ulibarri lining up a 50-foot putt for, and then he looks at UDisc for par. That's the theory. If we can jump between cards. One of our drawbacks right now is finding a way. Right now, we have 2 camera coverage on one card. Would we split that into 1 camera coverage on 2 cards, which I think reduces the quality of our product? I like 2 cameras on one card because you see a throw, you see a catch, you know right where the disc lands. Without that, it would be almost impossible for someone in a booth to tell where a disc went, because then you'd just be guessing. And it's no different than you standing at the tee and saying, I think that went in bounds, as opposed to seeing the camera guy be able to show the shot. So now if we want more camera coverage, we need to get at least a third person out for a camera. And that's a whole nother expense that we have. Step 1 is 2 camera coverage on one card with someone in a booth. That's step 1, just to make sure that it can be done. So in theory, yes, it could mean in the future more cameras, more cards covered. Obviously, that comes with more expense, more data, more everything. But the concept is solid as far as we could cover as much as we want, because the guy in the booth is just looking at the cameras and hopefully has a list of players or knows the player so he can kind of spot them and say, oh, we're looking at Peter McBride about to throw 4-4, whatever. So yeah, the concept is there.
We shall see how it all unfolds. And as Johnny said, that's certainly on the list of trying to find a way to make it all happen and still making it flow and put out a good product. Luke says, any more thoughts of special unique events before tourneys? Yeah, it's something that we love the idea of. We just find that it exhausts our resources for the players and for us that much more. They're there. The ideas are there. It's not just the execution, but it's also the commitment that it takes. And as these players are going from event to event, half of them say, okay, well, I'm not throwing a single disc on Monday because I'm either traveling and or relaxing. And then by Tuesday or Wednesday, do they need to go see 1 or 2 or 3 other courses because they might be playing already by Thursday or possibly Friday? Just things have gotten so compact, and it's just really tough to make it all happen. And when you add in events taking place before, you add in extracurriculars before the event, does that then bring in another day of travel for me and 2 or 3 other cameramen? Does Johnny V's situation back home, does that impact him from his 9 to 5? Does that bring in another day of that? There's a lot of moving components and working parts there as to whether or not that can happen. We love the idea, and I'm sure where they're very practical, we'll try and exhaust those ideas, but there's nothing that we can count on at this point. And there again, we're beholden to what the players want, because are they doing it for fun? Are they doing it as an exhibition? Is someone underwriting it, and or is there something to be gained by it rather than just playing a round of golf or doing whatever they're doing? Those are all things that get factored in, and I feel like we're getting more intense, and every moment is that much more focused on these days, in the sense that, players aren't just out lollygagging around, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of people pulling on a lot of our players and resources at all times, it seems like. So it's possible.
Matthew Q says, I thought sales like Disc Golf Guy stamps and shirts, SmashBoxxTV shirts and minis. I think we talked about this last week about, I'd love to set up some sort of shop for that, and whether or not we would do that through Miles or find another company like Teespring or whatever it is, where you can basically custom create your own campaign and things like that. So it's something we're looking at, and I've kind of dipped my toe in a little bit into building some of that stuff on these different websites just to see how it works. So
Cody asks, how do you control the crowds when you're at an event? I feel like a lot of them can be in the way. That's becoming, again, another one of our growing pains. Some events are really good at counting on and planning for crowd control, and even the best ones could probably use even more help. When we get out there, we understand we're a very tight-knit sport with a lot of access to a lot of players, and it's awesome that you can practically,
Well, the PDGA is helping out this year by not allowing people other than the caddy to go with the groups. I believe I read that. So,
okay.
In theory, unless we'll just take Paul and Hannah as an example, I would think unless Hannah is his caddy, she's not allowed to be with the group.
Well, that'll be interesting to see exactly how and where that plays out, and to what extent ropes and or gallery control is implemented. Yeah, there's a lot of questions there, because we've said it before. You have the players and their caddies, and then you have, I'll call it friends and family, and then you have the next level, which is Klingons or I don't want to just say fanboys or girls, but then you have like the wannabe friends and family that are also then tagging along, and there's plenty of people that get in our way, and I don't want to sound too mean about it, but yeah, by the time you're at that second or third level, you need to get the F out of the way. Like, you are probably walking into a cameraman's line, or you're talking when you shouldn't be, or you're being disruptive to somebody. I hate to say it, and it's great that we're a small sport, but sometimes if you're not directly involved, you need to move and or shut up and or get out of the way. I'm not saying we shouldn't have galleries. Let me be very, very clear. We should have galleries. We love galleries. They're great. They just have to maintain a certain distance and respect for the players, for the caddies, and for all of the legitimate media. And by legitimate media, I mean anyone that's there that is allowed to be there or contracted to be there. I can't tell you how many times someone steps in front of a camera, because they're filming with their phone, and they just really wanted to get the cool shot. We're a small enough sport that's happened. That doesn't happen in the big times at any other sport that has legitimate coverage at it. So that's just something we're growing into. We need the people that are not directly involved with formally documenting the sport to be to back up.
And I am correct in saying that was a PDGA competition thing this year.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
I
thought that's
vaguely
what I read.
I do not recall. You should find it.
I was digging. I was looking at the competition manual, but I don't know exactly where it would be found.
It's funny. I have a hard copy of the competition manual in my bag, but yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. But I mean, it sounds practical that they're becoming a little bit more strict on it.
I thought for sure I had read that, but maybe I'm wrong.
Some other things. The crowds themselves could help out with that as far as being mindful to the players. Yeah, they certainly can. The problem is they don't. Some crowds and galleries have been really great, and some crowds and galleries are just, everybody wants in. Everybody wants the closest seat. Everybody wants to be as close as possible, and I get all of that. I truly do. The problem is, like I said, when you have these entities that are either paid and or are there to document, and they need, we'll say, the prime viewing spot. If you're Paul Macbeth's, I can't say brother because his brother is usually there in a paid capacity. If you're Nate Sexton's dad, which this has never happened, but if you're Nate Sexton's dad and you're not on the bag, you're not carrying his bag at that point, I, as a cameraman, a paid cameraman, need to get the shot more than you getting it on your iPhone for his Instagram. That's an example, and that's a completely fictitious one, but yet practical. That is the order that needs to go in.
So I have 305G is the new. It's under carts.
Remind me of
groups.
Double G later. Go on.
I will. In PDGA majors and national tour events, the group consists of the players themselves, each player's individual caddy, any active tournament staff such as leaderboard attendants, tournament officials, etc., and any credentialed media only. No other people may be with the playing group. All others, including players who have already finished their round, are considered spectators and must remain in designated spectator areas away from the playing group. That is the new rule.
So here's the only challenge the challenge I see to that rule is what was the terminology? Designated spectator. You're designated spectator, but then in a designated spectator area.
Correct. Away from the playing group.
And that's the problem is where does that line, if there's not a rope, if there's not some kind of physical component, how far behind do you need to be at that point? Because we see it. There's entourages is really the best term for it. You'll see a popular or sometimes unpopular player, but they may be 6 or 8 deep that have nothing to do with the play.
And then you get, I'm just going to use Paul and Hannah as an example because they're the one that comes to mind. What happens if Hannah's keeping score for the group, but she's not caddying? You know, we do have with the PDGA with with UDisc. Now she could be considered an official part that way. Does that, but what happens if Paul Ulabari's on the group and someone from his family's there, but they want to keep score, but now they can't walk with it, but Hannah can? I could see there being some issues in those small designations.
Sure.
And again, I just use those two because it's Paul and Paul, and I know they're buddies and all, but I could see that happening in some particular groups.
Yeah, exactly. Where do you draw that line?
And honestly, I know it sounds silly, and this is, again, a player-to-player thing you have to call. If you're on the 8th or 9th or 12th card of an event, does anyone really care? If you
have an entourage and you're on the 8th card?
Yeah, if you're on the 8th card, and let's say Stevie Rico's there, and Bamba shows up, and Freddie
and Murder Mike,
because and maybe Josh is there to hang out because Stevie's lighting it up. How far away do they really need to stand? Where is the designated area? Who's going to care? Who's going to follow that? Who would you call Stevie Rico on that if you're in his card? Be like, sure. Dude, your crew here. Now, if they were getting in the way, of course, but we know all those guys
are going to be respectful.
Are going to be respectful because they know the crowd. So you're going to run into something like that. I can't say I see this being hard to enforce, but I'll just say it's probably going to be enforced a little bit more on the lead 2 cards.
Correct. And as people are saying on the board, Seth, for instance, from the Pro Tour says she's allowed to be there because she's part of the tournament staff. And I think that's in reference to Hannah to live scoring. But that's a perfect example. Hannah's doing live scoring with UDisc, and Paul Ulabari's mom is there, who's a great supporter and Smashy.
Pat.
Yeah, she's out there, and she says, well, I'm going to keep paper score. I'd like to keep. The question would become, how can she be involved with the group? How close is she to the group? Because realistically,
does
again,
each player get their own scorer if they want to score? Like, oh no, you're not a caddy, but so and so's scoring for me because I don't like to do it. I got my mom scoring for me. My competitor has his brother scoring for him, and I don't know.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, and I think and not to pick on them, but what's common we could see or a very practical situation, which I think I've seen in the past. I'll use an example like Zach Melton. Zach Melton, maybe on the first, second, third card, wherever he is, and some good friends like Madison Walker and Paige Pierce and Zoe and or a half dozen other people could be like, oh hey, we're done with our day, let's go watch their round. He's on the lead card. That's exactly where this situation can come into play. And clearly this is no judgment on any player whatsoever, but if that happens, that's when it can get problematic, is if you have this entourage that shows up and you're not directly involved with the play. Not saying you're not being respectful. They're just saying we're going to try and find a way to limit that. And I don't know. I think that's a very practical...
Our player's limited to one caddy. As everyone knows, Feldberg has enough discs, and Stevie Rico was the same way back in the day. I saw Steve
like a chair caddy and a bag caddy and an umbrella caddy.
I saw Steve with a homemade backpack one year that had 3 different. It looked like it was 3 separate backpacks and compartments.
I would think, in theory, you should be, dare I say, allowed or designated technically one caddy. Is what I would think you should be. Scott Williams says, say you cannot have third-party scorers. Yeah, maybe. Maybe that ends up becoming an answer. I don't know. Won't it just be the group and then 40 feet back for everyone else? That'd be great. You're right. Chris Young is suggesting that, and that would be great if that's the case. The problem is it rarely is. It is the group, which may consist of 4 players. It may consist of 4 more caddies. That's all great. But then what happens when you have 6 more friends that are really like right there kind of on your hip as part of it? That's the issue they're trying to
curtail.
Thank you. Big word.
It's not that big of a word.
It's not. Should each player be allowed a max number of people be allowed to be in their party? For example, caddy friends, etc. Yeah, that kind of indirectly, that's exactly what we're arriving at. What that magic number is, who knows just yet.
It's year 1 for this rule, so I'm sure it'll be sorted out. We'll figure more out as we go.
And Luke says, is it becoming a rule in order to give the other players some grounds to voice concerns about spectators in particular? I think it's just along those lines, because let's be fair, maybe you're new on the scene, or maybe you're not liked. I don't know. And you have 0 people in your entourage, and then someone else popular shows up, or that's well-liked, and they have literally 12. They're 12 deep in their entourage. They might be nice and friendly and respectful, but you have so many more opportunities for someone to step on a stick, someone to sneeze or giggle or whatever. Their cell phone to go off. Again, I think you're trying to eliminate some of those possibilities if you are saying, okay, here's who is approved to be here in the tight-knit group. All of those things could happen behind a spectator line, but they're less distracting at that point.
Someone's saying big tournaments need roped areas. I agree, Nathaniel, but that's not always the case. And ropes are expensive. And again, I'm talking about
he's suggesting permanent roped areas.
Sure.
Yes.
I think it would be nice just to say only the designated group can be on the fairway. I mean,
sure.
Whatever, and then the definition of a group is in there.
And the definition of a fairway.
Agreed. But
I know.
I think that's really what it comes down to, is we don't want a mass of people walking down a fairway. So let them be a spectator. Stay 50 feet away from the players if possible, and just be happy.
Chris from out near Smuggler's Notch is saying, so we need a rope. We need the rope volunteers to maintain the buffer. You are exactly right, Chris. That is, I think it adds professionalism when the when the crowd is somewhat corralled. It looks better. It gives respect to the players. It gives, I think, respect overall to the event. All of our players love spectators, but they love well-behaved and well-corralled spectators even more.
Even more.
They do. Every one of them will tell you that. They love the galleries. They want them there, and we want them there. But having them organized and maintaining a distance that's comfortable is amazing. And then the camera crews and the caddies love it as well. If we need to walk down a fairway, there's been times, and I'll pick on Waco a little bit, only because there's a few spots on their fairways that are tiny. You need to funnel a couple hundred people through those. Let the players walk through, let the caddies walk through, let the media walk through, and get our positions, and then everyone else can filter in. And I don't want to sound like I'm just bitching or whining, but that's the way it needs to happen. We're all trying to make things better for everyone. That's the way to do it, though. And Cody, to finish up this final statement, I love it. He says, not a caddy, you are a spectator. And that's a great way to put it.
And done.
Done. All right, Chris, we wish you the best of luck for your junior championships taking place in August.
What else do you got?
I think that was about it. I don't know how that all started.
There's someone on the board.
Oh, yeah, goals. Do we rehash? Do we go back? Any major mishaps in 2017 that we want to own up to?
That we want to own up to? No. Not a lot. I mean,
There's
nothing.
no massive snafus. You didn't catch me screaming at somebody expletives in the middle of a round or at a child. I don't think. Did I do that?
I never once on camera saw you hit a kid.
Okay.
That's
at least it wasn't on camera.
No.
Yeah, I don't think we had any major. I mean, we've got obviously plenty of times where things go wrong or slightly wrong or whatever, but there were no like complete blow-ups. At no point did we forget a cameraman back at the hotel, or drop a camera out of a moving car and destroy a camera. I mean, there were no major. We never missed a winning putt.
Correct.
Or thankfully technology worked, and technology never allowed us to miss a winning putt or a playoff putt or something like that. Knock on wood, nothing major in those terms.
I want 2018 to be less weather and less playoffs. I know everyone loves a playoff, everyone except for us.
Yeah.
Every extra hole, I just think, oh, something's gonna die, something's gonna get screwed up.
Yeah, that's one of the big downsides for us in terms of a playoff. If we've been out there for 2, 3, 4 hours, batteries can start to run low. Things can start to overheat. There's a lot of things that can happen. Rain could then come. I guess it could all of a sudden get nice too if it has been raining. But generally speaking, and plus you already know just by definition, during the playoff, there's going to be drama. And I'm that much more nervous that, Johnny V's internet could go down. Again, a camera battery could die, and we've already exhausted all the backups. Like, things can only get worse.
The longer we're out there, I feel like the worse. And then the pressure's that much bigger. If you lose hole 17, that sucks. That's happened to us where something's failed. We've had a reboot. We've been on hole 17. Bam, we're back up by the time 18 tees.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we lost half a hole. When a playoff comes and something happens, that's just you've already cranked up the drama to 11. Every second needs to be on, and that's when I start to sweat. That's when I start to get nervous. Not because I care that much about who wins or loses or the great play. I just think, please don't die. Please don't die. Please don't die. And I'm not talking about Terry.
No. It doesn't matter if I do. The show will go on.
That's right.
Have you been hit by a disc? I personally have been. Not so much from commentating, but as a cameraman, I think. Yeah, well, I very specifically, not during live. It was post-production coverage of the Masters Worlds. I got hit in the leg by what thankfully was an errant shot during best shot.
No.
I got hit right in the leg-ish area.
You were also hit in the camera at Pro Worlds.
I was. Katrina Allen had I was out there filming post-production stuff again, and Katrina Allen had thrown a shot that ultimately skipped off the ground and skipped far straighter than it really should have, as opposed to Heisering. But anyway, it skipped and hit the camera lens, so that sucked. And it was Worlds 2014, a disc that really didn't matter as much. Sarah Hokum hit the monopod as the disc was somewhat coming to rest anyway. I don't think.
And even the Katrina Allen one, thankfully you haven't caused anything major.
I have not affected any outcomes of any tournament.
Correct. The Katrina Allen one, it wasn't getting much further than when it basically just barely clipped off your camera, and it didn't make any difference in the long run.
It wasn't a momentum. Yeah.
I saw somebody ask about fantasy disc golf. Yes, it's going on. I've got an appointment at 3:00 on Thursday to go over the quote unquote the redesign of the site with my programmer. I emailed him today and said, "Hey, I'm just getting a little nervous. He keeps telling me, he's like, yeah, I've got this done. I just need to upload it and do that, but I haven't seen it. And so I said, we've got like a month and a half before things have to go live. And he's like, yep, you're right. The pressure is on. He's like, I'm not, worried about it. So let's get together Thursday at 3, and I'm going to see the first initial not redesign, because it's going to look very similar, but the first initial reproduction of the site. So we are on for that. I'll let you know more as I know more as far as updates and changes to the site. Exciting stuff.
Mm-hmm. There was a question that came in, or yes, definitely less weather. Cancellations would be nice, Christy says. We'll be at, every Pro Tour event, and then likely, I believe, Pro Worlds plus the GBO. So we're looking at least 12 live events, at least. And
unless I go on tour as a master.
And well, that's one way to do it.
Me and Emac, we're getting in. We're getting in the element. We're going.
Worst disc hit ever was Double G hitting the spotter at the Memorial. That was pretty crazy on hole 18. That was true. And speaking of Double G, I think we mentioned it last week, but a slight follow up as to where in the world is Double G and what's he up to. He's at New World Disc Golf in Florida. And I think we referenced last week that the conversation that I've gathered on Facebook is that he's part of a new touring crew that will involve him and Jessica Weiss and then maybe one or two others.
Okay.
And then I think I also gathered from his statement on Facebook that I thought it said something like Mixed Bag Tour 2018 or Open Bag or something like that. So I don't believe that Double G is committed to a sponsor in 2018. So that was the news that I wanted to
and I can understand that.
He's been removed
from any manufacturer. Not quite sure. Double G is someone anybody would love to have on their team, but not knowing his commitment level yet, it makes sense. Makes sense for maybe. I mean, some manufacturer could maybe jump on and get him cheap, and say, "Hey, you want him?" Or maybe not.
Maybe he may be holding out. We don't know.
He could be. But I can understand maybe if there were any manufacturer hesitance about it.
So that's what I believe I saw. If not, it's some good new rumor for you guys to take elsewhere. But that's what I saw out of Double G's camp in the last few days. Is a reference to that. There was something else right along those lines that I had at the tip of my tongue. Oh, yes, and the Idlewild guy took one in the face. That was
off a tree.
Off a tree into some guy's face this year. Ryan Pilcher says he's going to be at the GBO, and he's super excited. You certainly should be.
I think I'm going to be at the GBO as well. I think we're doing this remote.
Awesome. Has DD announced their new players? Well, Dynamic Disc has, in fact, I believe, announced, ultimately their new players as a follow-up to last week. Since last week, we've seen AJ Risley, who had put a very nice video out on his Facebook page if you want to go watch it. AJ Risley is announced as a new Dynamic Disc sponsored team member, along with Chris Clemens, who was recently announced as well. And I believe Chris has, again, switched from Latitude 64 over to being a DD team member. Terry, have you posted coverage from the U.S. Women's here in the Tri-Cities, Tennessee this past year? Yes. All 4 rounds. 3 rounds I think I covered. I covered 3 out of the 4 rounds. They are all posted. They were posted actually hours after they each took place. So, yes, that's all posted out on the Disc Golf Guy channel. I did mention tonight, though, that I totally spaced out that I went out and captured the night golf, urban golf round, which was 6 or 9 holes. So I got to edit that together. But otherwise, all the footage is out there. I was mainly on second card of the Pro Women's coverage. So go out and find it on the Disc Golf Guy channel. had something else at the tip of my tongue. I don't recall what it was, though. All right, guys. Not sure how I missed the AJ one. Yes, AJ is AJ Risley moving from Legacy Disc over to Dynamic Disc. They are still missing that top touring dude.
Christy is basically saying that Dynamic Disc still doesn't have that top tier person.
Yeah, they really don't.
As far as male,
they've got a lot of great players. I mean, you're going to see Dustin Keegan.
They've got a ton of top 20 players.
Yeah, you're going to see Dustin Keegan, him on the team this year. Chris Clemens on the team. Those are two great pickups in terms of just awesome talent. Eric Oakley, of course, is already on the team, so should be great. Zach asks, are you guys playing or directing any Ice Bowl type tournaments? There's a local one that takes place here in Milwaukee. It will be my, 23rd? Or 96 was my first one. So 23rd. Third consecutive year of playing in it. I'm going to play in that with my good friend Mike Schwieger at Dretzka Park. So 23rd consecutive year playing in that.
I've debated whether or not I want to try to find a partner for that.
You should.
I should.
Great courses. Harmon is one of the favorites. And
I might have screwed up my knee this past weekend.
That sounds like at least a worthwhile excuse.
Yeah. I think I told you I helped a friend of mine move.
Yep.
And we moved him from his condo or his duplex, which he owns. He was in the upper, and we were moving some big. I forget if it was the
dresser.
I forget if it was the dresser or the box or the mattress, but his front steps are like 2.5 steps. There's like 2 steps, and then there's like a little lip.
Is that regulation?
No, I don't think it is. And I missed one of them, and I kind of tweaked my knee just a little bit. And I just kind of slipped, and I was like, oh, whatever. It didn't hurt at all. I had no issues with it. Finished out the day, helped him move. The next day, I wake up, I'm like, my knee is a little sore. That's strange. And I didn't put the two together at first. And then the next night when I was laying down, I woke up in pain because just the way my knee, when I was sleeping on my side a little bit, my knee was bent just slightly as gravity would, you have 2 legs, gravity kind of pulls one down. And I woke up in some severe pain. And then it hurts a little bit if I twist it the wrong way. So I don't know if I just strained or sprained something or if I need an amputation. I'm not sure yet.
I definitely.
I mean,
I would look to just removing the problem.
So I'm hoping it just goes away in a couple of days, but it was pretty painful the other night. I had a hard time sleeping. So I'm hoping it's nothing serious, not like it's some stupid torn ACL or something weird like that.
Bill Sherman out on the board from the San Jose area. Good night, Bill. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. Christy is talking about getting over to some of the great courses in Tennessee. And I thought there was something else in there, Glow Golf. I don't know who's talking about playing Glow Golf, but that's not happening around here.
You don't want to play in negative 20-degree weather in the middle
Glow
of the night?
Golf. I did. I don't know. It's barely worth mentioning. Thanks to Tom McManus, I actually, I don't know if volunteer is the right word. Tom McManus strongly encouraged me to join him for a round of golf after I ran the 1-round C tier this weekend, the flex start, which had, I said, if I'd had 20 people, I'd be happy. We had 21. And I thought about actually playing in it at one point, like, I should just go out and play a round of golf. And I didn't, as part of the event. The open score that ended up winning was a 49. This is a relatively short, very short, I would say, course. But the wins were nasty. So the open score, there was only 2 open players. One shot a 49 and the other shot a 50. And the hot score in all of the advanced divisions, which were all kind of combined, ended up also being like a 50 or a 51.
Mm-hmm.
Tom McManus said, do you want to go play? And I said, you're crazy. It's like literally 20 below with wind chill. And things were wrapped up. It was 3:30, 4 p.m. And I thought to myself, if it were almost anyone else, I would decline. And instead, I went out with Tom McManus, who helped me with the event. And as you can imagine, didn't start off. So I played in, I had a shirt, a long shirt, a sweatshirt, a heavy sweatshirt, that is, and then a heavy, full-blown winter coat. Like one that is, I've been in, yeah, full-blown winter coat. The most bundled up I have ever been for any round in my life. And we played, and I managed to go bogey free. I missed 4 putts inside 25 feet. All were high due to wind. And I think I walked away with a 7 under, 6 or 7 under. I think it was a 7 under. I think I missed the last putt to go to 8. Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Right.
It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it, Tom. Thank you for all but forcing me to go out and play that round. Because if it was with anyone else or with no one else, I definitely wouldn't have done it. But the time and day allowed for it, so I appreciate it. All right, I think we're gonna call it. Luke said I was about to make the drive, but it was too cold. Yeah, you big baby. Ryan Pilcher was there. He manned up.
Let's close this bad boy out.
We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We appreciate the after show rambling and fodder. Thank you guys for joining us.